Welcome to week 3 of League of Legends. It's the Belong Arena Clash. My name is Stanley Greyheart Barker. I am joined by Marit's Chronicler Mewson. We have had our fast food chicken and we are ready for some fast-paced games from Group 4 of Arena Clash. And it is the Cardiff Saints taking on the Bristol Smugglers, the Bradford Rams versus the Craigavon Kestrels.
Indeed, some fine matches on our hands tonight. Looking at Saints versus Smugglers first. Besides the nice alliteration, it's always also the game I'm looking forward to tonight. In terms of average level of play, that one's a little bit higher than the Rams versus Kestrels. I think those two teams are going to be a little bit towards the lower end of our ladder, perhaps. But these first two teams might be able to climb their way up there. So Saints versus Smugglers first. And, of course, last week we had some amazing games.
We certainly did. We've got a small chance now to have a little look at how the standings are. As we have a little look at Group 1, this is where we saw on week 1 of Arena Clash. They are now with the Spartans at 2-0. The Claymores Invincibles have both got themselves one win. However, the Invincibles, who have played one more game, also have one more loss. The Armada they're on just the one loss so far, and the Swarm, well, they've got the 2 losses, unfortunately.
They had a lot of fighting spirit, but actually winning proved to be difficult in the game that we watched, and apparently in the second game as well. So for group number 2 with the Harriers, the Pirates, who are, say, one of the favourites to go all the way up to the finals again, only have one win. This is because they've only played one game. Lionhearts 1-1, and the Steelers and the Enigmas trailing behind, with the Enigmas being 0-2. Unfortunately, Steelers still have the chance to even up the score there.
Yeah, we come over to Group 3 and we can have a little look at how the standings lie here. We can see that the Hunters are top of the table with the Vikings, 2 wins each from their 2 games. Meanwhile, however, no points across the rest of the board, as 1 loss for both the Arrows and the Brawlers. The Centurions, unfortunately, a big 0-2.
Yeah, and there's always needs to be a worse team. Unfortunately, in this case, it's the Centurions, 0-2, and with Belong Arena Clash, because, of course, the grassroots league where everyone, is just based on proximity, not necessarily the level of play. You get a lot of fluctuation that can also... and not very often. Tonight we also see the Rams and the Kestrels. Both of those two are also trailing downwards at the standings, so whether or not they're going to be able to climb up there is the real question. We also have the Smugglers, Saints, and both the Nighthawk and the Saints actually standing 2-0 currently, and Smugglers really wanting that win tonight.
Yeah, there's a very real chance that they might be able to pick it up. They're going to have to fight very hard, though, to try and take themselves from below the Saints in the standings. Here we can see the team lines up. We've got Halsey, Andy, Savonix, One Evan, Fox, Mulgrew J for the Cardiff Saints.
And then on the side of the Bristol Smugglers, and I love that logo, Nuke Hashinshin, I'm assuming not the real one, Biofrost assuming also not the real one, Zazas, Recollect, and the GN.
Okay, they are the teams that we are going to be seeing in action. First of all, we will be following that up with the game of the Bradford Rams against the Craigavon Kestrels. If that's what you're interested in, we will bring it in its entirety very, very shortly. But first, we'll be jumping into the champ select of this first game as soon as possible.
And as said before, I feel like both of these two teams, Saints versus Smugglers, expecting a lot of action there. We have some really key comfort picks, as we've seen before in Belong Arena Clash. There's, of course, players who might not necessarily have like the real competitive edge where they have like a deep champion pool. They can play a lot of things. Some of these players just, play one champion only, and do it very well. In tonight's case, not necessarily a one trick, but we have, for example, for the Saints, Adentum, who's playing a lot of Fiora, so I would not be surprised if we see some bans going towards that. The Rek'Sai and the Lee Sin for Fraser, folks. Like Rek'Sai in particular with the new Conqueror has been incredibly strong, and there's the Fiora right from the get-go. The Sivir also something that Zazos plays a lot. I would not be surprised to see a Trist ban if they want to, because those are really his most 2 played champions. Rakan getting taken away as well.
So yeah, it's an interesting thing when you come and you start playing in an event like this where people can actually scout you out, check your OPGG, what are you playing a lot of, and if you are, close to a one trick, they can make life a lot harder for you through these picks and bans. Quite often you do see the targeted bans towards the higher elo players, but it's also equally easier to tilt a lower elo player off the face of the earth and take them off the things that they are comfortable with. Here the bans are coming through thick and fast. Karthus, Rakan and Sivir all taken away by the Cardiff Saints. The Bristol Smugglers so far looking at the top lane, taking away the Fiora, taking away the Riven, changing things up, removing the Cassiopeia.
What this does mean is that there's a lot of top lane power picks. We see it ends up already picking up the Ignite. He's a carry top lane, and Ignite really fits with that if you want to go for these hard winning lanes. The Lissandra, of course, can be flexed to top lane, but I'm going to assume that's a pick up for Sova Nyx here. Lissandra has been a big part of a lot of heavy wins here in the Brelong Arena Cross. Just in general, a really strong champion at the moment. We do see the switch there over to the teleport, so I was like, yes, Identim. Go for the carries, go for the ignites, but teleport, of course, has a lot more versatility, doesn't rely on you absolutely demolishing lane and then being split pushing threat, so you can go a couple more ways. There is a lot of Yasuo players on the side of the Smugglers. Even the Rakan God is his most played, and it seems like currently he's playing support, so I don't think we're actually going to see him on that. So that probably pick up Xin Xin there, then the Thresh and Lucian Brom. How many times can we say Lucian Brom? Very strong bottom lane. Dueling potential, especially with Alessandra as well, is insane. So the Cardiff Saints already getting a composition here that has a lot of early and mid-game fighting power.
Yeah, Saints certainly drafting what they hope will be winning the composition. Some picks being made from the side, however, of the Smugglers that are a little bit different. That Yasuo, like you say, that can be flexed across so many roles. Somewhere we're unlikely to see it is ADC, however, as the Tristana gets locked in for Zizos.
And his second most played, so still fairly comfortable in that, but I feel like Sivir is also in a really strong place in the meta at the moment, where even if you're not someone who exclusively or mostly plays Sivir, it's a really strong AD carry. She can get through lane fairly safely. She hits a power spike way earlier, like back in a couple of patches ago. It was all about the 5-item Sivir, but that 3-item Sivir is already quite scary, as the Evelynn gets taken away here. And we see some diversion here, because now, considering the fact that there's a lot already picked up, more and more bends towards the jungle here.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, even though there are the flex picks, especially of the Yasuo there, it does seem fairly unlikely that we've seen either of the junglers for the two teams. So the Evelynn and the Lee Sin have been removed respectively. Karthus already, of course, off the board, and now we see Kha'Zix taken away as well. With one last ban remaining, how much would you like to bet that it's going to be a jungler ban?
I don't know, the Saints might want to ban away Rek'Sai here, but they could also see them picking it up. I do feel like it's interesting that Rek'Sai... Xin Zhao? Yeah, I think it's going to be... Might be. Oh, it's the Darius.
That's like Xin Zhao.
Xin Zhao of the top lane.
Exactly.
Yeah, early game prowess notwithstanding, getting taken away there. I would love to see the pickup from the Rek'Sai here from the side of the Smugglers, because I'm fairly certain that if they don't get it, the Cardiff Saints are going to pick it up. Fraser Fox, besides Lee, Kha'Zix and Eve, all of which are unavailable, he really loves the Kha'Zix. Instead they go for the Nunu, which I feel like it's kind of risky. Nunu is, of course, just all-around a relatively strong pick at the moment, but not that popular and competitive, I'd say.
It is a heavily snowballing champion.
It is indeed. I love how you say it with a straight face as well, like no smiles whatsoever. And let's be honest, it is. But not as snowbally as a Rek'Sai, who with the new Conqueror, it's just incredibly strong. Got a little bit of a buff as well. Easily gets more fury, and the Jax, we talked about Identim, his role as this top lane carry where he likes to go aggressive, likes to play these strong carry top laners. Well, in this case, got the Jax. Conqueror's really strong in it right now. Even with the hotfix, we're seeing the Cardiff Saints really drafting, in my opinion, a strong composition here with a lot of tools. So if they get to the late game against the Smugglers, then it might get scary.
Yeah, the hotfix is one thing, but it's clearly not enough. You know, there are already nerfs coming in on the PBE, likely to come in on the next patch for Conqueror, and if Jax is going to pick that one up in the top lane, it will make him quite scary. Oof. He's going into a big skill matchup, though, because it's going to be the Aurelia going up against him in the top lane.
Indeed, and that is quite a call that Xin Xin is making there. I feel like whether or not this top lane matchup is going to go one way or the other very strongly is going to determine how the rest of this game goes. Because if you look at the rest, you're expecting Lucian Brom to have priority in that lane, because Tristana Thresh just, besides maybe a level 2 if Nunu goes in early, or they get like a really awkward position, hit level 2 first, they might have opportunity there. But in general, Lucian Brom is just going to have an easy time in that lane. Same goes for Lissandra, just shoves in versus the Yasuo, tries to find the roams. So that opens up the map for Fraser Fox to just pay some attention to Jax, because if either Jax or Rayleigh gets hit in this matchup, they get really oppressive for the other player to deal with, because neither of them really wants to build tanks. So once you're behind, you're just building damage items against a carry that also builds damage items but is further ahead of you. So then it goes just from bad to worse real fast.
Yeah, I completely agree with you that it's going to be really, really crucial what happens in that top lane. But I think a big part of impacting that and impacting the entirety of the map is going to be the junglers, the Rek'Sai and the Nunu, two very, very different champions. And seeing which of them is actually able to develop that biggest snowball, whether it be the literal one for Nunu or the actually the slightly more hypothetical one coming out of Rek'Sai, will figurative. That's the word I was looking for. Figurative snowball.
Metaphorical.
Yeah. All of the words.
All fits.
Yeah, they all fit. I'm being taught English by. Thanks for that, Mal.
Well, my pronunciation's terrible, so you got something going on.
I'll get you back later. Don't worry. So, but I'm really fascinated to watch that jungle matchup because while I agree with you, top lane is going to be a killer. Because at the end of the game, I expect either an Aurelia or a Jax to be jumping around, picking off whatever target they want. One of those two things will probably happen.
Yeah,
I do feel like the junglers are going to have a really key part to play in this as well.
Agreed. Rek'Sai, especially once she hits level 3, like pre-tunnel, it's a little bit harder because the burrow on burrow becomes not as useful because you need to like get onto someone, right? And maybe you can get that, but without the dash or like figure it, I guess there's a dash underneath the ground. It's quite hard to get onto people. But once Rek'Sai hits at level 3 and then going forward to level 6, like the first 10 levels, I'd really say that unless we can see some counter jungling and some really good objective control coming out from the smugglers, it's going to be really tough to make that Nunu work. Like, of course, Nunu is going to skill much better, especially if Rek'Sai can't get anything on the early game, so Fraser Fox does need to make stuff work. But with how strong Rek'Sai is at the moment, if he gets the metaphorical snowball rolling, I don't think we're going to see a lot of actual snowballs, because then if you crash with your snowball and all of a sudden Fraser Fox shows up and he counter ganks you, if he picks up 1-2 kills early on, it's going to make everything so much harder because that Rek'Sai is just in a really strong spot at the moment.
You talked at the beginning of the cast, Mal, about how we're going to see a little bit of a disparity in terms of the elo and the balance between these teams. It's reflected in the standings as they are at the moment, with Cardiff Saints being 2-0, Bristol Smugglers, falling a little bit behind as it is. Do you feel like the way that these competitions have been drafted reflects that at all, or do both of these have the potential to be a winning draft for the teams?
I find it a hard call. I would, in theory, even though they're not doing great in the standings right now, give it to the Smugglers, because I feel like on paper they might be stronger, but they have picked themselves into a composition where if they fall behind against the Jax, the Rek'Sai, the Lucian Braum lane and the Lissandra, they're going to have such an incredible hard time getting to that late game, because if you get to a mid game where your Yasuo isn't far behind, so you have these opportunities to make plays with him, you have a Tristana that skills much better than Lucian, then there's a lot of tools available for them. But I want to see whether or not they can actually get to a point, whether they have a plan to survive this oppressive early game that we see from the Saints, avoid Jax getting fed in the top lane especially with the Aurelia across from him, and maybe snowball themselves, because the same goes the other way around. If you look at the relative lack of save wave clear that you have on the side of the Saints, right? Because you have Jax, doesn't really do anything. Lucian can't wave clear that well. She's not really anything. Like Lissandra and Rek'Sai can wave clear, but they need to be basically in melee range. So if the Smugglers rather get ahead, then they're quite oppressive as well. Because with how the comps are looking right now, I'd say that the Saints should take an early game lead, and then the question is, can they ride that lead to a victory? Because if they don't finish the game, that's something that of course is easier said than done, unless you get like a Jax who goes 4-0 in the first 10 minutes and then you just win, because that's kind of what the champion does. Same goes for Aurelia though. Then it's going to be really hard.
Alrighty, so coming into game 1, they are the expectations as we see them. It feels like the word of the day is very much going to be Snowball, courtesy of that Nunu pickup. Let's see whether or not the Smugglers can use it to full effect, or is it going to be that Rek'Sai doing the work in the jungle? I want to see the Yasuo getting an early kill. I would never say that in a ranked game, not even if they're on my team. Nuts to Yasuo players.
No one wants that.
But I want to see it in this game because I feel like it could really change things. Because if Yasuo gets to a position where he's ahead in that lane, not able to allow Lissandra the sort of roaming potential that she normally would have, maybe able to impact by roaming a little bit himself, that could really change things up just as much as an influential Nunu.
The one thing for me though is that there's not that much activation on the side of the Smugglers for the Yasuo. So he's going to be really reliant on hitting a tornado, because you have like Fresh Flay. There we go.
Snowball.
Yeah, you have Snowball, but even like hitting a Snowball in a lane gank is going to be doable. Once you get to actual team fights, it's just going to be a lot harder to actually pull it off. So, and there's no knockups on Aurelia, unfortunately. Buster shot is one, I guess. You can ult someone away, and then you can hit them with the last breath. But like by the time
that's
you
the
hit
combo
them,
we were looking for.
Yeah. Like imagine that Tristana just Buster shot someone away, and like pressing R, and then like by the time you actually get it, you're like in the enemy team.
What would we even call that? Buster breath?
That sounds mean, but not. Good. I like it. It's not bad.
We'll see whether or not we get to see that.
That's more like a Gragas skill, doesn't it? Like Gragas, after he's drank his entire explosive cask, just comes up with the Buster breath.
We are a week now removed into patch 9.4. We obviously know the things that we talked a lot about it last week. What got nerfed, what got brought in, what was maybe a little bit stronger. now that sort of the dust has settled a little bit from that patch, is there anything that you feel particularly has got to a place where it's maybe a little too oppressive or so completely irrelevant?
Conqueror is still a tad too strong. The hotfix, took the worst out of it, but it's still a rune that gets, or a keystone that gets taken by a lot of people for good reasons. Like even in this game, 4 Conquerors right here. And then you have Lucian, you can't really run it, Tristana can't really run it. So that's not too surprising. What is surprising though is that both these teams are going for really atypical invade routes, and we're going to have a lot of vision in the enemy deep side, but there's no chance whatsoever that either of these two teams are ever going to meet, which is kind of interesting, especially the top side invade, because Nunu doesn't even necessarily start on the blue side. Of course, you can argue, he doesn't want to go for leashes. Both of these two teams go for a nice tour through the enemy jungle, find absolutely no one, throw a ward down here and there. Yeah.
This is like a game of what happens when no one's looking. This is like Toy Story. The two teams, they have no idea what each other. They were mirroring each other across the map.
And you can see, according to the pings as well, that like for the Saint, they didn't really expect to find anyone here because, maybe Nunu starts red, but it's not weird if he doesn't. But for the Smugglers, they got to be wondering, wait a minute, what's happening here? Because we didn't see anyone run away either.
And no one decides to stick it out either. This is going to be a complete return just to normal lanes. There is going to be that small amount of vision that's been put down by the Smugglers. So this is going to be a red buff start that is seen by the Smugglers as the Saints get things started here in the bot lane.
And with that blue start, does mean that Xayzos and Rakongod they're not going to need much later. Take the safe pathing as well as is expected of them. Both of these two bot lanes going to arrive at exactly the same time, so no early lead there for 1-1 and Halsey either. And as we said, the double teleport is something I haven't really talked about. You need to, of course, go cleanse against Alessandra, because if not, the ganks are just incredibly oppressive, and the champion itself can maybe pick up a kill here or there as well. And this does mean that if we hit the late game, that's one of the tools that the Saints can use, where the Smugglers are just running a single teleport, might be able to set up a 1-3-1 with both Identium and Sovonix in a side lane. But it also depends on how well the lanes go.
Alrighty, Rek'Sai having cleared out a couple of camps is going to look for that Scuttle Cramp here on the bottom half of the map. Nunu, meanwhile, just power clearing the bottom half of his jungle at the moment. Going to find his way over to a red buff very shortly. So far, no signals of intent for any early ganks.
Love how when you're moving around as Rek'Sai while you're burrowed, like you don't see anything on the Fog of War either, and we see moves in, but Emily Grey sees it coming and easily gets out of the way. Now, there's no real priority, I think, for Sovonix, so maybe we can see Recollect go for the contest, but it doesn't look like it, so that means that Fraser Fox is just going to be able to double scuttle here, and that's a great way to start off your game.
Yeah, really nice boost to the experience for the Rek'Sai there, who on top of his own jungle, or her own jungle, if you want to remember, it's the queen of the jungle there, then actually is also just going to get 2 scuttles on top of all of that, and that's a nice strong start for the Cardiff Saints jungler, who's going to look to impact this game as much as possible.
And with the blue buff getting taken there as well, Recollect is just farming the Raptors, and just not that much happening here, not even like heavy trades. We see that the most damage is being done in the mid lane, where Sovonix is getting kind of low on mana. Counter-Strike goes in there, Xin takes the worst end of a trade there, but not too bad all things considered. Those last few auto attacks really hurt though, so he needs to be careful now. Not low enough for Fraser Fox to go for a dive, especially with Recollect not being anywhere around. As they try to make a play on Sovonix, who were just glacial paths away, it's completely fine.
Yeah, so far there hasn't been any exciting skirmishes to report. Both the teams just farming up to their heart's content. Everyone seems to be fairly close across the map.
I feel like once this game actually, once kills start falling, it's going to go very rapidly. This feels like one of those games where both teams are like, okay, so it's like kind of bubbling under the surface. This is the first game of a best of 3. They don't want to fall behind early. We just need to kind of feel how our opponent's doing. Goal is dead even as well. No big CS advantages. No first real apparent differences in laning capability as well. Because we've seen Belong Arena Clash games where at this point in time you're already like 10-15 CS leads for lanes when they were having a really hard time. But here everything's looking quite balanced. And I'd say if this continues for like 10 more minutes that favours the Brutal Smugglers. But like I said, I feel like at one point or another, once we're going to see these first few ganks come in, things are going to change rapidly.
So I'm going to ask you for a number then, Mal, because there are going to be people out there watching who are like, you know what, I want to go grab a cup of tea. What minute are we going to be seeing First Blood in?
Oh, I thought right now, because the Xin got really low, but a nice show from Recollector. Just done with the Crux, shows up to make sure that Adentum doesn't go for a cheeky kill there, because a solo first blood would be absolutely huge. Does mean that with Recollect picking up the wave there, we're going to see a little bit of an advantage here for Identum. He's already a level up now. I think once the Shinshin gets back to lane with the teleport, that might change, but an early level 6 could make a big difference here, because that Grandmaster is just so strong. But here comes the snowball.
Biggest ever snowball is going to be coming through the lane. We're going to see Identum try and dash it away, but that little turn that he just made might be the death of him. He sidesteps away from Snowball, but it's not enough. There's the knockup. Counter-Strike goes down. We're going to see snowballs being thrown for days. The Nunu doing his absolute best to help pick up this kill, but in the end, the flash is enough to save the life of the Saints top laner.
And the question is whether or not Recollect is going to abuse the fact that Flash is no longer there, or whether a Shinshin can make a big play of his own there. Because Identum can actually get back to lane without having lost too much. There's no real push going on right now. Some means we're actually lost for Shinshin there, and he can teleport back to lane. So it's really the Flash and whether or not they're going to be able to capitalize on top of that. Still no first blood, still no real advantage for anyone here, but look at the jungle. Fraser Fox, pathing-wise, hasn't been back either, and is going in really deep. There needs to be careful, but a really nice tunnel there means that he gets out with his life. And look at Recollect's jungle. He's not getting back that farm anytime soon.
He certainly is not. He might be able to get himself a little Scuttle Crab though, because even though Rek'Sai took away the bottom half of Nunu's jungle, didn't take away that Scuttle this time. So a little bit of extra experience for Recollect, who was up until that point a level behind, manages to equalise things up at level 5 for each of the junglers. Before that top lane gank came in, I was about to say I'm going to predict minute 8 for our first blood. Do you want to go and put a number out there for us now?
I like 9.
You like
just gonna go like arbitrary, like just a minute later than you. I think once these first couple of backs came through, as we see now, Skirmish say being picked up with 2 longswords for Fraser Fox. He's looking a lot stronger. Identum and a Shinshin, we've seen that they can actually do a lot of work. What I'm not really liking is the fact that the Saints bot lane is kind of left to their own devices, and that's not going to go well. What is going to go well? We talked about this level 6 early. It's hit here by Identum.
Flash is still available, but it's just not enough. No respect for the Grandmaster's might as Identum goes in, picks himself up the first blood in the 7th minute.
And neither of us were right, but this is the start of the action. You were closer. You definitely were. Great. We see the Triamat getting picked up there, and Identum is going to get that as well. This lane gang though,
it's going to be that both junglers arriving. We're going to see multiple knockups, but now the shield is negating a lot of the damage coming through. It looks like the stuns are going to land onto the Nunu. He has to flash himself away, and meanwhile the damage going down onto Zazor's a dash forward, a double tap, and Ewan manages to get himself 1 kill. But here comes the Yasuo. I wanted to see him get a kill. Will he manage it? The knockup for now says no, but he takes down Ewan. Now we're going to see a second kill being picked up because Braum is not going anywhere fast. Double kill for the Yasuo. Lissandra joins the party, throws down the Frozen 2, manages to get the kill onto the Fresh. The Absolute Zero is channeled by the Nunu. It doesn't get anything. In the end, the double kill for Yasuo was the big story.
And 1-1 picking up a kill there as well is nice, but they had to use so much there just to get, and there was a little bit of a miscommunication there. We saw Recollect getting focused while Zazor was also similarly low, and they had to use so many resources just to get the good end of that fight. Also, the fact that Emily Grey was able to roam faster than Sylvanix is not something that should ever happen with that Lissandra, and because of that, what looked to be a great play for the Cardiff Saints with a nice counter gank there turned into their favour, in the end is not really as favourable. As you say, Emily Grey picking up 2 kills there is absolutely huge. Fortunately for the Saints, they still have a lot of other avenues, but as I was saying before, I'd love to see Fraser Fox go to this bot side again, because I feel like the Lucian Braum lane, you need to give them something to work with, because I don't feel like with how they're playing right now, they're comfortable in trying to exert the dominance in that lane on their own. And if this lane goes even, then the Smugglers are going to be quite happy with that.
So Sylvanix failed to be there for the proactive roam there, sort of more of a responsive one coming out from the Lissandra. What do you make of the early items being picked up? That Hextech Revolver, that Kindle Gem both there, saying that the Protobell is going to be the first item.
Don't dislike that. I feel like it does mean that, again, Sylvanix, we want to see him roam. We haven't really seen him make any plays yet. The only time that he left his lane, we saw there when he followed Emily Grey. Showed up a little bit late. If he had a full mana pool there, I feel like we would have seen another kill. Might have gotten the shutdown there on Emily. No such thing in this time. Though Recollect is still the top side, so Identum needs to be careful, but he's really showing his prowess in his 1v1 lane. But there comes the snowball.
Shinshin's been having a tough time, so here comes Recollect to try and even things out. The Vanguard's edge gets thrown down by the Aurelia. Shinshin having to flash away, and that's enough to allow Recollect to pick up the kill on Jax.
And while Identum is having a really good time, we see the Glacial Fissure being used, and Rakan God gets taken down before I can finish my sentence.
Yeah.
This is what we wanted to see from the Lucian Braum lane, and they hit level 6 and make immediate use of it.
Yeah, as soon as you see that Braum, sort of those stacks being put on, then the double tap comes in, the lockdown is there, the Fissure with the knock-up, an easy kill. This one obviously going over to Braum so that both of the bot lane members for the Cardiff Saints now have a kill to their name. The Bilgewater Cutlass already completed for the Lucian, doing so much more work than that BF sword for the Tristana right now.
And Identim is playing really well in the 1v1, but his game sense is a little bit lacking. The fact that he had no knowledge but still almost went for a dive there while they had no idea where Recollect was appropriately punished. And if he keeps that up, then his small advantage that he still has is going to evaporate quite rapidly, as we see that he's working toward the Phage, while Shinchin is in a little bit of a stronger power spike now with the Sheen. Still a lot of room for Identim to get ahead there. And we see the Mountain Drake getting picked up here. There is a bot lane though, but Sovanix just back, just not have the teleport just yet. And we need to see proactive play from the Saints here, not to lose this Mountain Drake.
Rek'Sai knows this one is going in, puts the control ward down, potentially contemplating the steal, but decides it would just be absolutely suicidal, and as a result that's going to be a free Mountain Drake. Proactive plays coming out from the Smugglers.
Can't really try to steal against the Nunu. He's just going to consume and smite it away from you, and we saw Fraser Fox, like you say, contemplating it. But Identim, look at that trading once again, goes for the solo kill there. We talked about Fat Jax. Well, it's looking like he's getting there, going to be able to pick up a lot of plates on the back of this as well. Does not have vision, and this time he does respect it, but now I feel like he knew that the dragon was picked up just now, and the only way that Emily Grey would show up in his lane, or Recollect for that matter, is if they just gone right to him. So this time Identim does play very safe, meaning he does not pick up a plate on the back of that. The solo kill though is still influential because that match is incredibly snowbally.
Alrighty, yeah, we saw there Dentum yet again just having that confidence, just step up, knowing he could absolutely out damage the Aurelia, doing really strong work in the top lane.
So Aurelia building towards the Triforce, Sheen already done. As we have some action here, this is where you want to fight as the Cardiff Saints, but not if you're a man down. There comes the reinforcements.
The Void Rush goes down to the Tristana, but it's not enough to pick up the kill. She's going to have to step away. They're not able to put the damage down. That just allows Identity to come in with the teleport, pick up the kill onto the Thresh, and now the Glacial Fissure is going to lead to a chase. It's going to be the last breath being thrown down by the Yasuo. It's just absolutely not enough damage. Double kill as we see the leap coming in from Jack, picking up the kill onto the Yasuo, and now we do see a triple kill. This could easily be a quadra, but instead it's stolen away by Fraser Fox. The Rek'Sai taking that one away from the Jax, but my word, Identim is doing bits, and I think I remember you saying something about a 4-0 Jax being able to do what they want. Well, you were flipping right.
Yeah, here we are, 5-1 Jax, and this is pretty much your worst nightmare as the Smugglers, because one of the ways where you win this game is if you don't take these mid-game team fights, because there's no real reason for you to fight that as the Smugglers, which is the key part. You are not really fighting over anything there, because there's no objective, because you've already picked it up. You know that the Saints, at this point in time in the game, even though they were relatively even, are going to be stronger than you just on the back of the picks that they have. And we see that Identim just cleans up the kills, but it's really due to the power of the Braum being able to knock up multiple people with Glacial Fissure, 1-1 being able to stay alive in the backline, had it just hit the Blade of Ruin King power spike, and just everything comes together there for the Cardiff Saints. The Smugglers just sacrifice a single person, give up there, don't waste teleports, because Shinchin also had to teleport just to be there. Then they're in a much better spot, but now they're at a severe disadvantage, and as we said before, this Jax getting fed is gonna be absolutely terrifying for them.
Chronicler, we did not have our first kill until 7 minutes. In the last 6 minutes, we have had 12 of them, making up for lost time, and now the game is escalating to a fever pitch because the Cardiff Saints have gone and got themselves a 4,000 gold lead.
We see 1-1 also really leaning into the fact that their opponents are basically full AD with the Ninja Tabi pick up there, sacrificing damage for a lot of survivability. And Sovanix probably going to... This is the power, of course, of the Lissandra. There's the Glacial Tomb. Is it going to be enough?
Yeah, that's the Tomb locking down Nunu, but in the end it's Fraser Fox who bites the dust because Rek'Sai gets absolutely smashed to pieces as Nunu manages to turn things around. Thresh and Tristana's roam, so effective there.
And what we see from the Smugglers, something that they're doing much better than the Saints, is their vision control on the river, because they have just been setting up these plays because they keep the entirety of the river littered with control wards, and it makes it very hard for the Saints to appropriately respond there, because you just know when you see Fraser Fox go in there, when you see Sovanix try to go for an aggressive Frozen 2, they don't know that the bot lane is coming there. And this is the kind of things that if the Cardiff Saints keep making those plays, 5-1 Jax or not, that's going to come and bite you in the butt at one point or another. For now, though, Identim is still 5-1, but the Rift Herald getting picked up, this is not the type of stuff that you can afford to have happen as the Cardiff Saints, because you should be firmly in control at this point in time of the game. Instead, you lose a random fight over nothing in the mid lane, over an overextended gank, and Recollect on the back of that with Fraser Fox getting taken down, just picks up a Rift Herald for free.
You were really interested in sort of where the top lane was going to go and where the powers, the kind of powers going to be. Who was going to win that power struggle? And in the end, it was the Cardiff Saints who have clearly come out on top there. I was more interested in the junglers, and I feel like the smugglers from a couple of those last fights would be really disappointed to see Nunu picking up a couple of kills, but there can be no denying that Recollect is able to do work across the map, is picking some clever objectives to go to, and so far all the neutral objectives are going in the smugglers' pocket. They're managing to turn into quite a few clever ganks as well, and actually if those kills on Nunu can be translated into some late game ganks for this Tristana, that's crucial. But right now she's got to avoid a Void Rush, because here comes the Rek'Sai. He dives in, but he's been met by a giant snowball. The Culling's going to be able to pick up Zazels as Ewan gets himself a kill onto his opposition ADC. Unfortunately, Yasuo was there to finish off Rek'Sai as he dived in.
And again, Sovanix still in the mid lane, not able to really match. Emily Grey, of course, came from base, double lane gag together with Recollect. Sovanix should be able to get out it just fine. The cleanse does get used, and needs to as well, because Braum was on his way there. But as you were saying, I feel like the Cardiff Saints, despite the cute plays that we see coming out from the smugglers, are just so incredibly strong at now. The kill on Yasuo really helps us. Emily Grey should have a big impact in this game as well. But if you can just do this, if you can just dive underneath a turret without any second thoughts whatsoever, knowing where Nunu is, then this is what I was talking about before. The Triforce is finished on Jax, not as yet finished for Shinshin, not even close to Ninja types as well, doesn't want to go for that, just wants to finish that Triforce first. But by that point in time, I think Identim's going to have Tabis, he's going to be building towards probably Steris Gage or something of the sorts, and this split push threat of the Jax that we were talking about before, it has been realised and it's not going away anymore. This champion is going to skill incredibly well. And now the question is the smugglers, like you say, they pick up a couple of good neutral objectives. They're able to semi-consistently outroam the Cardiff Saints, but they need to avoid these full-skill teamfights. Just need to focus on what they've been doing so far, counter-gank, and not fall behind further, because it's still a 5k gold lead. And despite the Herald, despite the Mountain Drake that they've been able to pick up, in terms of CS, it's also getting dicey in the top lane, in the jungle, and in the bot lane.
I feel like a lot of that 5,000 gold lead has purely got to be in Jax's pocket. I mean, that's a Triforce, Tiamat, Ninja Tabi, Longsword up against the not even completed Trinity Force alongside the Tiamat. The Dragon has been started up here, but it looks like it's going to be contested. The Saints are going to immediately turn their attention towards the fight, whereas Nunu is focusing on the ocean. He manages to pick it up, but now he's caught between the Devil and Deep Blue Sea, having to flash himself over the wall. His Thresh is not going to be quite so lucky. Coming to try and save his Nunu with a lantern, he instead goes to the grave, and now Nunu is completely and utterly lost at sea. He's going to find the counter-strike to the face. Recollect does not recollect the last time he was able to get away from a Jax. This might be it. It also might not. The Blast Cone is going to take him to safety for now, but he's still being chased through the jungle. The ADC does not even have a care in the world. Just going to take down the turret. Jax continuing the chase. Braum's going to join in for a little bit of fun as well. And you're about to find a loser. Execute! Execute! Yes! Field goal for the Nunu!
And Recollect running away with the snowball, in the end able to outwit Identim there, denying the kill which is used, wasting a lot of time for the top lane and the support. So definitely win for the Smugglers there. Pick up a turret as well in the top lane.
That's a turret I did not expect to go down anytime soon.
I know, but if Identim is all the way around the map, then it's not too big of a deal here. Unfortunately, once the Cardiff Saints actually group up, they're in absolute terror, as we can see as they dive basically 2 towers deep, and there's just not that much you can do about it because they are so incredibly strong right now.
Thresh showed up, got the lantern in. I thought it was going to be enough to save Emily Grey, but unfortunately it just was not, and now we see the Frozen Tomb being used on Sovanix, able to keep himself alive. Meanwhile, it's going to be a second turret pushed down here in the mid lane, and another big chunk of gold in the pockets of the Saints.
Yeah, and once Identim finishes his Spear of Shojin, that it looks like he's going for, I don't even know what you do as a Shinshin. Like, at this point in time, you're already in a terrible spot as we see the Rift Herald getting used up top. Was about to expire. Might as well throw it down, even though it's going to get picked up by a 1-1 for, no real cost, as we see Recollect moving towards his own rep buff there. And this game is going from bad to worse rapidly, and this is what we were talking about. The mid game from the Saints with the draft that they have here is just absolutely insane, and they're making great use of it. I don't even know if they can take Adentum here. I don't think this is a good play.
This is a 3 versus 1 with a Vanguard's Edge already thrown down, and Hashinshin just does not have any more damage to put down. Fortunately, it does look like Tristana is finally going to be able to help things out. Hashinshin actually gets the kill because Tristana had to run back to the bush. It is going to be a 1 for nothing. Meanwhile, in the top lane, the Baron's about to come up.
A 1 for nothing. One person. Flash. Heal. Just everything. They have to use absolutely everything there just to stay alive. I think they can just go for the Nashor here. There's no one near. I think they should suspect it, but it doesn't seem like they are. Of course, they're not doing it that fast. No Kaiser, no health shred available for them.
No Jax.
And Recollect, of course, as the Nunu, is always at the threat of stealing. So I feel like at one point in time, they're going to realize something is fishy here, but they don't see any pings coming through just yet. They don't realize it, because if they would, I gotta imagine that they would think about sealing it. They're moving in now. 2,000 health on the Baron, but I think it's going to be gone before they get there.
It's too little too late. The ward gets put in, the snowball gets triggered, but unfortunately the only thing being triggered is going to be the smugglers, because Recollect gets himself stunned up, not even able to grab that lantern to get to safety. Baron goes over to 5 members of the Cardiff Saints, and they pick up a free jungler kill as well.
Indeed, they do. Saints looking incredibly strong here. Adentum on his own, he draws so much attention that the smugglers are just okay. So we dealt with the Jax, the rest of the team's probably back. We can do this, and this is the one time that their vision control kind of fails them, because they've been really diligent about making sure that they have good vision in the river. But now with how strong the Saints are right now, you can't get that vision. There's just no way, because if you get caught in a 5v5, you're going to lose every single time. So instead, they just have to hope that the Baron doesn't happen. And then even without the Jax, if you give them enough time, the Saints just pick it up for free here.
I mean, that was an insanely large amount of time. I mean,
it's 20 minutes, right? Like, the moment Baron spawned, they just went for it right away, as they knew 4 people were used to kill Adentum there. And yes, that shutdown is really nice, but it's not worth a Baron.
There was just a really bad feeling while that mid lane in outer turret was being taken down,
like,
Recollect started walking towards Baron and then went, oh, no, I need to go and finish off this turret, and then walk back again. It's like, so close and yet so very far. Meanwhile, however, the gold lead is continuing to grow. Still 7,000 for the side of the Saints, as they now look to use this Baron to break into the inhibitors.
Indeed they do. Emily Grey is one of the few real threats that need to be careful. Zazos hasn't even gotten close to the Zeal item yet, so he's not a real threat as of yet. It's going to take a lot longer for that passive to stack up as well, to make sure that he can get those auto attacks in from a save range. Because if he gets even close to any of the players on the Cardiff Saints, he gets blown up in a matter of seconds. And there is a beefy frontline available him in the form of the Rakan God, who honestly isn't that beefy with his current scoreline, the fact that he's running the coin. As Fraser Fox go for a player, and just the flash is forced right away from the Shinshin. Not having a great game here, getting outskilled by Adentum in the 1v1, and then that's the problem with the Aurelia. As Adentum goes in, I still think he's going to be able to get away with this.
I don't think he is, because the Buster Shot is used. That's going to be the rocket jump as well, and that is actually in the end going to be the kill for the Thresh, who steals it away from the ADC, who felt like he did all of the work. But that's just the way it is, you know. Supports are what really win you the game.
Yeah. No, like, to be honest, like, the fact that they got the kill there was really nice. This is the problem, though. You know that this collapse is coming, because there's no other place to go. That snowball fortunately gets abandoned, as House just want to make sure that even if you do go in remotely further than you did, you're going to get blown up. And without Adentum, they need to be mindful, but they're still a lot stronger. They still have the 2-1 Lucian, they still have the Fat Lissandra, so there's still, and the Baron buff, so there's still a lot of room available for them, especially with the Shinshin getting taken down.
And the fact is,
it's just one Yasuo knock up away, though.
Yeah, 5 seconds until we see the Jax alive, though. With the teleport available, he can easily join this fight, but already Fraser Fox has been taken down, but Tristana is going to be the sacrificial lamb in return for this. Thresh goes down as well, and both of the bot lane are dead, and so is the jungler. And with all of those kills, it's going to be the end of the game, because with the Baron buff, it's going to be 4 members dead for the side of the smugglers. They cannot possibly defend against the Saints, who are clapping down onto their Nexus turrets. Yasuo throws down a wind ball. He finds a jumping Jax on his face. The Saints are coming, and they are going to take their win in this game. I was about to say they win the series. It feels like they've won the series just because they've won game 1 in such convincing fashion, but the smugglers will have the chance to bounce back in game 2.
They definitely do, but what is showing here from the Saints, and what really strikes me, is how well they execute this draft here. A little bit of an error here and there where they don't respect, well, you know, Sovanix gets a little bit too late with the roam, follows a little bit too late, but just what scares me is that you get a situation in which you just get outskilled 1v1 in this matchup, that means that probably you're going to just put Shin Jin on tanks next turn, and that also creates other opportunities for the sides of the Saints, right? And this is what are you going to do in this game? Because the problem isn't it's one issue. It's like the Saints had a really strong all-around early to mid-game fighting draft, and they did that very well. And that's not something that you ban out that easily. You can ban the Lucian, you can ban the Braum, you can ban the Jax, but there's other champions that fulfill those roles in a similar fashion. And the real issue is that we saw that the Smugglers had a really tough time with knowing when to take or not take fights. I think the fight where it all went wrong was one. Identim teleported in the bot lane. They were fighting over basically nothing. Picked up a quadra. It was a triple kill actually because one kill was stolen. Quadra, yeah. It should have been a quadra, right? Yep. And then Identim can just literally throw himself into the enemy team 2 times, and it doesn't even matter anymore.
Alrighty, game 1 has been concluded. We'll be bringing you into game 2. It's something in this water we're drinking, I swear.
It's got to be it.
That's what it definitely is. Either that or the unidentified chicken that we had for our dinner. But we'll bring you to the game 2 champ select as soon as we possibly can. It'll be very, very difficult for the Smugglers to pull themselves back after that, but that is exactly what they have to do. Just to give you an idea, some of the scores that we ended up with there: 8-3-2 on the Jax, 6-0-9 on the Lissandra, 3-1-15 on the Lucian. That's 3 champions who it feels like you can't give back over to the side of Cardiff, but you can't ban everything.
That's the problem, because you want to get the Fiora out of the way as well. We saw Identim, even though his plays were a little bit questionable, he still drew so much attention to himself that the rest of his team, because it wasn't just Identim, right? Like, he was hyper-fed, but the rest of his team was still in a really good spot based on the champions that they had and just how much money they had in their pockets at the moment. The problem is, you can ban the Jax, you can ban, as you say, you can ban the Lissandra, you can try to pick them away, but the Fiora and the Riven are going to do the exact same thing for Identim, and that's the real issue, is that those kills didn't happen because we saw because Favor Fox didn't even have the biggest impact in that game, right? Like, he did what he needed to, especially in the mid-game team fights. He did very well, flashed on top of Tristan a couple of times, got some nice unborrows. That's all good, but he wasn't the deciding factor. It was just a straight 1v1 matchup, and that's what scares me going into the second game. How do you draft against that?
It's certainly not going to be easy. No? I'll put it that way. But I do wish the Smugglers the very best of luck, because if this does go to a third game and this whole series sort of flip-flops, seesaws, whatever you want to call it, it could be a real nail biter for the Cardiff Saints, who will look to want to go 3-0 in this Group 4 Hero Arena clash. That's the first time I've really seen a Jax going big in this patch, and there's a reason for that, and it's because as soon as the patch came in, I changed my permaban away from being Pyke to being Jax, and I've not seen a single one in any of my ranked games for quite a time. So it's interesting to see just what it can do when it's got that Spear of Shojin, that Trinity Force, that Tiamat, and it can do just whatever it wants to. Yeah. It's nasty, and I will continue to ban it, and so should all of you. You should also go and get yourselves a nice drink, because that's exactly what myself and Maritz are about to do. We're going to go and have a small 5-minute break as we wait for the teams to get ready for the next game. It's nearly time for game number 2 of our series between Cardiff Saints and the Bristol Smugglers. The Saints took the first game, and now the Smugglers will be looking to bounce back in game 2.
And like we said before the break, it's going to be rough. There's a lot of things that went wrong, but number one is that draft. What we saw there from the Saints was a very clear idea with what they wanted to do. Very, not one-dimensional, but very one-directional draft. Just want to get on with those strong picks, get ahead early, snowball the game, which is exactly what they did. So now it's up to the Smugglers to try and change that around. And keep seeing the Rakan band for the Rakan God, which, you know, makes sense. Rakan is also one of those supports that can, even post-ban, can really ruin your day if you try to go for a big engage and just counter-engage you. There's the Lissandra ban. I quite like that because the Cardiff Saints were using that champion expertly.
One thing that has already changed around is, of course, the sides. We do see the Bristol Smugglers are going to have the first pick up this time. So even if they don't ban away, let's say the Jacks or the Lucians, there is the opportunity for them to pick it up first.
The problem, to me at least, is that even if you pick away the Jacks, you're still leaving open some of the other power picks. The Riven, for example, something that Identim also plays, and I'm going to assume is just as comfortable with. See the Zed band there, that's quite an interesting one to me, because as far as I know, we don't see that much Zed being played on the opposing team, so it might also signify that they want to go for something a little bit more dangerous in terms of mid lane.
Alright, bans are completed, and now we're going to get to see just what is most highly prioritised by the Bristol Smugglers. Will it be something we saw in the last game, like that Yasuo, which was played by Emily Gray, or will it instead be something so completely different, the Lulu?
And unless this is a top Lulu that they're flexing out of nowhere, I feel like I'm having similar issues with what we see here in the draft, because what I love is that the Smugglers went for the Lissandra and the Braum ban, which is you try to ban away some of the champions that made the Cardiff Saints plan so incredibly strong. But it looks like the Saints are just completely switching up their strategy themselves, so what I said no longer doesn't really have any bearing, because I was about to say, if the Saints go for a similar plan and the Smugglers go for like a late game-ish comp again, which you kind of do with the Lulu because the laning isn't that great, you really get it for the Wild Grove and for the late game with the Ardent, you have the chance to run into similar issues. However, we've seen that 1-1 and Halsey aren't that aggressive, so the Tristana, Thresh, save lane, should be fine.
The Saints took one look at the Smugglers in the last game and went, you know what, we like that bot lane. We'll have that.
Imagine if they just pick exactly the same thing from here on out.
we can win with whatever you try to play. So we're going to see the Aurelia coming in next, is what you're telling me. What we have seen is the Sejuani, now for Recollect, another icy champion, but a slightly different one coming to the party this time for the Smugglers.
And the Jinx pickup as well. Jinx in a really strong place. As I said before, I'm not a huge fan of the Lulu. Even though I love Lulu as a champion, I don't feel like she's in the best of places right now in terms of viability. And Lulu also suffers from the fact that if you get hooked or your Jinx get hooked, there's just, you have the polymorph, you have the shield wrap, there's not much else that you can really do. So like something like a Morgana would have, especially if you know that you're going to be picking up a Jinx, would allow you to just get through that lane a lot safer. Would have also somewhat invalidated the Thresh pick, as we see Fraser Fox. He looked okay on the Rek'Sai, but besides these aggressive picks that he likes to do, I guess they're going to pick up the Karthus from here, completely shift away what we saw before, as we see the Darius getting banned away as well, and there's the Jax ban that we were expecting. I'm going to be really surprised if we don't also see a River ban here from the Smugglers.
Alright, so, you know, Karthus has been picked up. It is potentially a flex. There's a fair few roles that it could actually go into. However, it is most likely to be for Fraser Fox, which means we've probably seen the junglers, ADCs, and supports picked up already. This is laning to the top lane, top and mid lane AD bans that are so very heavy right now. Zed already having been taken off table. We're now going to see Aurelia, Jax, Darius, and Yasuo all gone as well. The Riven is still up and available.
I want to see Klepto Riven. I haven't seen it in a while.
I don't.
You really? It is very, very scary to watch. And they can also counterpick it, which is quite good, of course, on red side. So I'm expecting to see a mid lane pick up here, unless they want to say Sylvanix, we want to get you a comfortable matchup as well. I feel like with how well Adenson played last time, it kind of warrants giving him, but instead, you're going to go for a completely different direction.
That's left field.
Indeed, so Cardiff Saints really switching up their drafts. Instead of seeing what we saw last time, they say we're going to blind pick Sion, which I don't necessarily disagree with. The question is, are the Smugglers going to go for something like a scaling pick, like a Vladimir that just gets a free lane and just gets to scale up? Are they going to go for something to try and challenge that tank? But the Saints are just really shying away from that early aggressive composition that we saw from them. They saw the bends and they were like, we can also win this when we play slightly slow. So we pick up the Tristana, we pick up the Sign, pick up the Karthus, and it's going to be tank versus tank in the top lane with Maokai getting picked up there.
I'd say I don't want to overthink this, but technically that could still be a Sion in the mid lane, and
True.
part of me kind of would like to see that on Sovnix.
I'd love it.
I think it's more likely that we see him picking up something a little bit with a little bit more carry potential up against what is likely to be this Vel'Koz.
So it can, like, I would love to see them go for something like Vel'Koz mid, Lulu top, and Maokai support. I've actually seen Maokai support. I kid you not, Maokai support Emax is pretty good because the sapling, like the brush control that it gives you, is quite effective. You build a Liandry's, you know, there's something there. I don't think it's not going to happen.
Not to that.
I've
Maokai
seen this.
top, Lulu mid, Vel'Koz support.
Neither of us were right.
No, absolutely.
Unfortunately,
it's going to be exactly where you expect him to go.
And before you hear me like Maokai support, nah, that can't be right. This was played in the in the finals of one of the highest leagues of the Benelux, and it worked. For some reason, it was better with Ziggs.
It was,
but
the
it
Benelux,
worked.
Though.
That is very true. Yeah. That is that's as good as a remark as you can make.
It wasn't UKLC. That's all I'm saying. All right. This day that I see Watley doing it, then I'll believe. Okay.
Very well. I won't push the point further, but I'm a little bit hurt.
I mean, have they been throwing out some big damage Tahm Kench in the top lane over in the Benelux?
No, we have a Riven one trick though, which is really good.
The fact that you just used Riven and really good in the same sentence, I'm slightly concerned.
I'm going to make a bold call here. There's a big chance that you see that guy go to EU Masters because he's arguably in the best team right now. Okay. And if he does, and teams are not going to ban his Riven, they're going to learn.
All right, they might learn, but I'm not sure that we ever will. And we've got our 2 drafts completed. They're so very different to what we saw in the last game. Does it change your feelings in terms of who has the best chance of taking the second game?
Based on how strong the showing from Saints was, I'd still give them the edge. But they're working with a completely different game plan here. I think the Syndra is the only thing that kind of feels similar, not in terms of, like, she doesn't do similar things as a Lissandra, but it's also a pick that can, go for the early bully role, can scale well into the mid to late game, like late game falls off a little bit. But the Zion, the Tristana, the Karthus, all just signify to me that the Saints just want to see, okay, so we saw last time, you make a couple of mistakes here and there. Last time we went for a really aggressive draft. Let's see whether we can do the same thing with a more passive draft. The Karthus, the Tristana, the Sign are all not that strong in terms of just raw power until they get a couple of items.
I have concerns, but I also have hopes for the Smugglers lineup. In the last game, one of the things that they managed to do the best was the neutral objectives. They were able to secure dragons, secure a herald, courtesy of that Nunu. They've changed things up. They've put Recollect onto the Sejuani. It's a completely different style of champion.
Still cold.
Still very, very cold. But pretty cool, some would say. Yeah. But I now hope that he's going to be able to impact the game just that little bit more, because he impacted it in okay, I've given you some sort of passive buff sort of way, and he did make some ganks, but now he's got a really high impact, big CC jungler. It could make a massive difference if he gets one of his laners ahead.
And I do feel like they kind of need to, based on how the game was played. Last time we really saw that the Saints were very aware of what their game plan was, which was early to mid-game team fights, get in those skirmishes, use the Lissandra, use the Braum, use the Lucian. They did that expertly. This time, if they play similar, like if they play as well to their win conditions as they did last time, I think we're going to see a lot slower game. And then, like you say, the question is, can these Smugglers do 2 things? Can they maybe put the pressure on a little bit more, even though they don't really need to themselves, because the Vel'Koz just skills well throughout the entirety of the game, basically similarly to Syndra. Their bot lane skills arguably better, because Jinx is late game, and Lulu with Ardent Sense, the Watt Grove and everything, is really scary. So now we have like more even in terms of scaling. But then the question to me is, can the Smugglers, that's thing one. The thing two is, can the Smugglers then not make the same errors that we saw them make last time, where they fight over things when they don't need to, when they try to force stuff that's unnecessary, and whether they kind of avoid their own power spikes in favour of fighting on their opponents.
You say slower game, but I'm going to go bold prediction and say we see an earlier first blood in this game than we did in the last. What was it, 7 minutes in the end last time?
7 minutes.
I reckon we get some nice spicy action a little bit sooner this time round.
Could happen. Like Karthus, amazing ganks. Especially with a Sign there. It's like, Decimating Smash, lay waste. No CC from the Karthus, doesn't matter. Just keep going.
No CC from the Karthus.
Walk in.
He's got that big bad wall.
Yeah. It slows. It doesn't really do anything. Like no one really cares about Wall of Pain, but it's there.
It's definitely there.
Just press R.
We talked a little bit about how 9.4 has brought some changes. Lay Waste does a little less damage now. It does mean the ganks are slightly less impactful. The clear isn't quite so quick for Karthus. Some people talking about how you just press R for Requiem in the jungle, and that's basically all the Karthus is doing. You know, Jankos made some jokes about it, saying they've not nerfed him at all. I can still ult. But actually, you know, your power's not going to be quite so much if you're not farming up so fast.
What I do feel like one of the issues is with Karthus is that even if you slow him down, the real big deal with Karthus is, of course, his passive and the Requiem. And Requiem was nerfed somewhat, but 50 damage, like in the late game, is absolutely nothing, right? Like it doesn't matter at all because your Requiem is still going to do absurd amount of damage just by the virtue of you being a 6-item Karthus. And the same honestly goes for Lay Waste. Yes, he spams a lot of Lay Waste, but if you flash the fire into the enemy team in the late game and they don't get out of you as soon as they can, like they're still going to get blown up because the damage that he does is still absolutely crazy. So yes, I say like his snowballing potential is lessened, but he still does the same things effectively, and that's what makes him so incredibly scary. And that's why, as the Smugglers, I'd still not feel necessarily super comfortable. And last time these two teams did meet, this time the Smugglers go for a more standard approach, and nothing gets forced here. We even see some Spell Thief procs getting picked up there for Lulu. Rakan God is happy with some extra gold that he got there towards his quest, and everyone goes back to their own jungle.
So one of the things that I like as a takeaway from this is watching the way that 5 men pre-made play together. The fact they're going in with a real game plan. In the last one, it was an unusual one. I don't remember the last time I saw a team do what the Saints did as they went up to the top lane.
Yes.
This time, obviously, they decided to do the opposite. But actually seeing the team splaying out, setting themselves up defensively, or going in for these potential invades, watching that that sort of cohesion is really, really nice because you just don't see it too much in solo. You have 1 or 2 people like, let's invade! And you're like, nuts, the rest of the team hasn't come and we've just run 5 minutes to a friend.
Like, even with Braum, who objectively is one of the strongest level 1s in the game just because of how good Concussive Blows is, doesn't matter. You need Blitzcrank, you need like a hook, you need a pike, you need a fresh, you need something that can like grab onto someone and then violently drag them towards you so you can murder them. Because if you don't do that, then like Solix is going to be like, I don't know, what's happening?
A little bit of confusion here. Who's up against Syndra in the mid lane? Because that's definitely not Vel'Koz.
I have no other response but a giggle for you there, Stan. As Emily Grey indeed rocks a nice skin there. Gotta be quite honest with you, the Ignite from 7ix does scare me. Syndra, of course, one of those mid laners that can seemingly out of nowhere just completely decimate their opposing laner. Vel'Koz is always a little bit of awkward to play against though, because the Sejuani ganks are really scary. Fraser Fox, as we said, is not going to have too much of an impact, but I do expect Recollect to go for something there, especially with if Emily Grey hits a knock-up or if Recollect hits an Arctic Assault, then CC Chain can be quite devastating for 7ix, who is running an offensive summoner.
Yeah, both of the junglers, they are just doing a little bit of pathing, and it's going to be an easy enough takeaway of their jungles, this time sharing out the Scuttle Crabs between them, so the experience has been kept fairly level. Meanwhile, the damage being put down the top lane. At the minute, these are some pretty interesting fights, but soon they're just going to turn into wet noodles.
Yeah, for now the base damage is still enough, but as soon as the first item gets picked up, you just see nothing happening. A big CS advantage already though. Level 2 gets hit, level 2 fresh. And Tristana is quite scary, but a little bit of indecision here as Halsey gets taken down, and that's first blood going over to Xayzorz.
Yeah, Jinx able to do the work, courtesy of the Lulu, who was able to get the Ignite down. The flash was burned by Xayzorz, but both the flash and heal used by you, and both the flash and Ignite used by Howley. And in the end, it was Smugglers who get the first blood, and that is just what they needed in this game.
And getting your Jinx out this early is really good. If now we can maybe see follow game coming up from Recollect, and all of a sudden this game can be, because if Jinx snowballs out of control with Get Excited, with the splash damage, it just becomes so incredibly hard to like get a good defense against her, because she's just going to chew through absolutely everyone here. And she has such a strong front line this time as well, because last time she was working with, you know, a Nunu who's okay front line and a Fresh that wasn't really that tanky. But if you get a fed Jinx with a Lulu and Maokai and a Sejuani, oh, that's real scary.
Well, I promised you all an earlier first blood than the last game.
You all right?
And, you know, let it be known, Greyheart always delivers on his promises. And
indeed,
in this particular instance, it's worked out really, really nicely for the Smugglers. They've got themselves that small gold lead, courtesy of the first blood. There is still a CS advantage for the Tristana over Jinx.
It's a little, just by the fact that we do see the pickups now getting picked up by Xayzorz, missed a couple of CS because of that. And we now see that they get the push on, which might be a little bit awkward for Xayzos and Rakangu, but need to respect the Sejuani against Recollect is toward just finished his own Krugs and is moving towards that. They don't have vision in the Tribals, I don't think. We do see pings though there, so I guess they do have vision in the Tribals. Sejuani was blocking it for me. See some pings going down there now. Yuan is also going back with 24 CS. If he's also able to, he goes for the Cull, and that really signifies that he wants to play defensively here. Sovanix blowing his entire load, goes in there as well, and I was about to say, blows everything before getting his ultimate, but he doesn't need his ultimate.
Flash and Ignite used by Sovanix to secure that kill. The barrier had already been used by Emily Grey, and in the end, that's going to be a really, really easy kill for the mid laner of the Saints.
And that is vital as well, because we talk about this bot lane matchup that can be very snowbally, but the same goes for mid lane. If Syndra gets ahead with the Scattered a Weak, or with just the immaculate damage that she has, it becomes so hard to reliably deal with her, because she can just throw down a couple of balls, press her unleashed power, and then Karthus pressures R. And if you don't have barriers, Emily Grey, I don't know how you're going to survive that.
It's not going to be pretty if that Syndra is able to get on top of Emily Grey again. Meanwhile, another thing that's not pretty is what is happening to this Maokai, having a really rough time against San in the top lane. Already almost half the CS.
And Wanyuan with the Cull and the boots is basically saying, okay, we're just going to fall for this lane, we're just going to farm up, we're not going to try to make any big plays, and then still move forward. It jumps in as well, has the Lantern, but they need the away from Recollect here.
Well, this is Sejuani coming in, going for the flash, but beautifully timed the Lantern there. It's going to be the flash, it's going to be the jump, it's going to be the jump away from Ewan, keeping himself safe. He managed to get the reset of the jump because of the explosive charge. Somehow that gank not quite paying off for the Smugglers.
If Halsey didn't hit that flay there, if Recollect was able to jump right on top of them, that would have been absolutely terrible. They still need to find a way to contest this Infernal Drake, but I don't think they're going to be able to, unfortunately for them, with the lack of priority, Wanyuan and Halsey just not strong at the moment. Cole versus Pickaxe. There's not much you can do, but it looks like they're not going to go for the Infernal after. I would have quite liked it, but they're not aware where Fraser Fox is. And he might not be that strong this early in the game, but Karthus walking into a Dragon Pit is always a scary thing. But no attempt made at the Infernal Dragon there. We see the CS lead for Xayzos is still sizable. I expect it to grow even further, but Identim again showing his dominance over Shinshin there with a 17 CS gold lead in the top lane.
Yeah, there are some massive CS disadvantages. There's a good hook landing now from Halsey. It's going to be the Ignite put down on top of the Lulu. She's going to step herself away, trying to use the Polymorph to keep herself safe. She gets out of trouble. It's going to be a kill being picked up by Xayzos. He has absolutely got the right focus. The flash not available here, and it's going to be a double kill for the Jinx. She got excited. She got a double kill. She got herself an even bigger lead over this Tristana.
While the mechanical play seems good on the side of the Saints, what baffles me is how bad the communication between Wanyuan and Halsey seems, because this wasn't a thing in the first game. Like, this is the second time we've seen the exact same thing happen. Halsey goes for an engage, used the Ignite early, Wanyuan eventually starts to follow him, but by then it's too late, and then it's easy clean up here for Xayzos. Now the Saints have a lineup that can actually threaten the Jinx, but as we said before, look at the front line, look at the support that Xayzos is going to get from the Wild Growth, from the Ardent Sensor that Lulu's inevitably going to build, and need to be careful at Identim.
Here comes the Requiem. It's going to be the kill secured for Shinshin, but immediately turned around because Karthus' Requiem allows the Undead General to pick up a kill of his own, 1-for-1 in the top lane.
A little bit over-eager there, but in the end, this is not going to matter too much for either player because we're talking Maokai and Cyan here.
Yeah.
We see the CS deficit being a little bit alleviated now because if Wanyuan can get a moment alone in that lane, Tristana with the explosive shot, she's going to shove it in real quick. But with a 3-0 Xayzos who just picked up a BF sword, again, still nothing but a call for Wanyuan. It's not looking good. No Requiem available here, though.
No, it is not. It's going to be the flash and the barrier, both used by Emily Grey to get away the unleashed power yet again, enough to force the Vel'Koz out of the lane. He's going to stay under turret and try and survive, though.
Which, in the end, I like in the back here. I feel like it's a little bit over-eager to just try and stay. Another Infernal Drake here, though. And while this first one could not be contested due to the unfortunate accident in the bot lane where Wanyuan and Halsey just got double-killed by the enemy Jinx, this next one cannot be given over, because if you give double Infernal to a protected Jinx comp, it's going to just end absolutely terrible, right? And Shinshin can't seem to find a way of really dealing with Identim, and Maokai at the moment is not in the strongest of places, and Stein, even post-nerfs, is still quite strong, but it's just not looking good there in the top lane, almost approaching double the CS right now.
I'm not sure I've ever seen a bigger disparity in earlier items than this Tristana and Jinx right now. A Cull, a Boots, and a Doran Shield against a Doran's Blade, Boots, a pickaxe and a BF sword.
Yeah,
This
one of
Jinx,
those will be bad.
This Jinx can absolutely obliterate Tristana if she so much as missteps right now.
And like I said, I don't think they want to give up the Infernal, but I don't think they have an option. I'm not even sure why Recollect is... I assume it's just to like counter gank, because Recollect doesn't really have to do anything there. He can just focus his attention on Emily Grey. I mean, maybe he walks into lane at one point or another, right?
Oh, he doesn't, but Emily Grey does get caught out by 3 members of the Cardiff Saints. This is not the turnaround the Smugglers were looking for. In the end, it's going to be a nice, easy kill. Picked up from Syndra, who's 2-0, but this is the damage coming through from Zayzor's flash over from Halsey, and it's just not what is needed. The flash and Ignite both have been burned. Ewan uses the heal to try and save the support. It's just not enough. Get excited being used by the Jinx. Sejuani having picked up 1 kill. We'll almost certainly see another. The teleports have been channeled by both top laners. We're going to see Identim arriving first of all, trying to do what he can on the side, just does not have the damage. Now Maokai arrives, he manages to get himself rooting the Scion in place. Somehow Decimating Smash, I believe, was able to pick up the kill onto the Jinx from range, but it's going to be Sejuani taking down the Undead Dreadnought. Tristana has managed to stay alive on the back of this fight, and so has Syndra. Both of the heavy carries doing some good work for the Saints, but in the end, I believe, over all that chaos, I think it was a 2 for 2, but so much happened that I don't really know.
And I think that if that kill would have gone to Sovnix there, it would have been absolutely huge. Instead, it goes to the shutdown for the Jinx, goes to Identim. That is still going to be a massive threat here, but it's just not nearly as effective as Fraser Fox. Not sure if you can get away with that there.
Knockup's going to land from the Vel'Koz, forcing the flash away, but flash in from Recollect. Chilling Smite being used. Fraser Fox finding himself in trouble, but putting so much damage back onto Recollect, who's having to step himself away immediately. Karthus is going to get knocked away, though, and it's going to be the shutdown going over to Maokai. 2 big shutdowns have gone down. Both the gold has gone into the pocket of the top laners, but there's the Requiem. Karthus managing to get that one, and despite Syndra being low, because she's got that Scatter the Weak, got all of that damage, it's the Vel'Koz who's sent running for his base.
And to me, the question now is, can Identim, Fraser Fox, and Sovnix get fed enough to deal with Zayzors reliably in the late game? Because that's really the question you've got to be answering here. A Shin is not going to be a relevant factor to a very long time in the game. Now, has finished the Sunfire Cape, but he needs to get so much more done here to really become the big, beefy frontline that you need. But he doesn't need to be that tanky if he just peels for Zayzors, as we saw there. Same goes for Recollect, who has actually been able to pick up a couple of kills, is 30 CS down though, and still has a bounty on his head. That doesn't feel great.
It's not really what you want, but one of the things that I'm really loving about this game, if you were with us for the last game of this series, where the Saints had around about this time just taken that big fight around the Dragon Pit, there was already a 4-0-1 Jax ripping the opposition to shreds. There is 100 gold separating these two teams. There are carries that are fed. There are tanks that are getting tankier. And I believe that this is shaping up to be one of the best games we've had in Clash this season.
Indeed. My real question is, why the Saints looked at the draw from game number 1 and decided to really shy away from it in philosophy? Because what we see here is a team that still wants to skirmish, and they do it well, right? Like, even though you see some plays where you're like, I'm not sure how I feel about that, when Halsey goes in once again against an enemy lane, and look again, they're all congregating towards the bot side here. 3 plates for Shin, but they just want to keep going, and I love this because they do not want to give up this Infernal Dragon. So instead, Identim is just gonna come here the hot way, doesn't have teleport available, they can't get it like stolen them.
Oh, Sejuani goes in, doesn't have a flash to get back out again. It was a mission, it was a suicide mission to be perfectly honest, and in the end it did not pay off for the Bristol Smugglers. They lose their jungler, they lose the Infernal Dragon as well.
And I talked to you about the bounty on Recollect that's picked up by Fraser Fox, and one thing that can really deal with a fat Jinx is if you just kill the Jinx with Requiem. Because there's not that much you can do about it, right? Besides popping a Wildgrave right on top of her and trying to shield her with Lulu. But then your Lulu needs to be off as well. And the Rakan God, thus far, is having a really good game. But once these mid to late game teamfights start breaking out, it's going to be a lot harder. This Infernal Drake is huge. If 2 Infernals go over to Zayzors, I don't know if you can ever really get through him. Because if you lose a single person in a teamfight, if Jinx ever gets excited, you're bound not to be, because your entire team is going to get demolished.
We're approaching 14 minutes. The turret plating will be falling off. There haven't been any turrets secured just yet. Despite this Jinx getting ahead, she's not really getting near enough to the turret to rip through those plates.
And that's the hard part, right? You can't really push into a Tristana, even with a lead as big as this. If you were playing against a lot of the other carries, it would be a little bit more easy. But with the explosive shot, it's just so hard to chew through. And that's actually something that, unless these fights are almost always engaged by the Saints, I feel like. Like, the Smugglers are not really taking a proactive approach, which for now is still fine. But if the game progresses, then that lack of proactivity might become a problem.
Has Sejuani pitched a tent in that bush? Because I'm pretty sure we've seen the Smugglers jungler down there about 8 times in this game.
And as I said before, I don't really feel like it's necessary. You can show yourself here, but that's going to be in 3 Rift Herald getting picked up by the Karthus. And let me tell you, Karthus jungle does not have a great Rift Herald. Its auto attacks are so incredibly slow that it takes quite a while for him to get there. In the end, Ardentum helps out as well, so they will pick it up there. But with how strong Zayce is and Rakan got are, and how safe, besides a couple of weird missteps from 1U1 and Halsey where they suddenly decide that they do want to engage R, there's just not that much opportunity for Razorfox now in the top lane, and a 4-man dives being set up at the bottom as well, with Sovnix moving there.
Maokai has found himself in a bit of a tough place, but a tanky old tree is able to get away. Meanwhile, the ultimate comes in from the Sejuani, trying to lock down the Tristana, but the flash is enough to get you into safety. Meanwhile, however, Thresh is not going to be quite so lucky. Tristana actually, I believe, goes down to the super mega death rocket. Jinx picks up a double kill. The Requiem now being channeled. Thresh has already turned 1 kill back onto the Lulu. A 2-for-1 going in favour of the Smugglers, who also get themselves the first turret.
And that's going to mean an Infinity Edge and another bounty there on Zayce, having to use a lot of summoners, so that means the next team fight is a little bit more awkward, but again, picking up those kills that you know he wants to. Emily Gray not having a great game on the Vel'Koz here, getting picked up a couple of times, 0-2 and 3 thus far, also 30 CS behind. Sovnix though, last game on Lissandra, he was kind of slow to start as well, but we saw how well he's doing. Once that Luden's Echo is finished, I said it before, the Requiem helped there as well to discourage Zayce from going after Sovnix, but even then, Sovnix is really a threat that Zayce needs to respect, because I feel like at one point in time, if he can dodge the Decimating Smash, he can probably get away from Ardentum if he doesn't get hit by the Unstoppable Onslaught. But his Sovnix, even so much as looks at you and hits a Scatter the Weak, hits a single ball, you're in for a really bad time as the AD carry for the Smugglers here.
Someone else who's in a bit of a bad time could be Maokai. He has run for the bush. He's used his dash to try and get himself to safety, but look how quickly he's being chopped through. He uses the flash, gets himself away from the hook. One final auto, not going to be enough to chop down the tree this time as he's able to recall to safety. Meanwhile, so much time has been bought that there's more damage being put down onto the mid lane.
4-man there. We see Recollect hiding in a bush, is 2 levels behind. We haven't really talked about this yet, but it's a 60 CS deficit, and Razorfox is approaching level 2 in Requiem, while Recollect, yes, he has the Aftershock, yes, he's Sejuani, so he's still going to be tanky, but he's so many levels behind, and that's quite awkward to work with when it's basically your main engage.
Alrighty, so one of the main things that I feel Smugglers changed about their draft was having the Tristana picked away from them, picking up the Jinx instead. I think that as the course of Clash goes on, you're going to find more and more about my various duo queue partners. Well, I've got another one called Lustriger. He's a really, really great player, and he loves his Jinx. And we played about 5 games in a row. 4 times in a row it got picked away or banned from him. When he finally got it, he popped off. What is it right now in the meta, as we see Thresh getting caught out, that makes Jinx be in such a strong place that she can rip through people like that?
Well, it's also like Maokai just throwing out his ultimate, and Owlsy like I guess just like he couldn't flash him out, wouldn't have made a difference there.
Not in
the thing with Jinx is that as we go on a little tour there, the thing with Jinx is that she is an incredibly punishing laner, right? Like, so what Jinx does is the moment you step too far forward, the moment that one person gets killed, is why you often see Jinx pick up double kills just because of Get Excited. Like, that passive, once she kills someone, is so incredibly strong that it becomes so hard for you to reliably deal with her. And with the Chompers, with the Zap, as soon as you step a foot out of line, like, it's even worse if you have a laner that isn't a Lulu, right? Because Lulu's very good defensively, but if you have, say, something that can CC as well, as for some reason, apparently they were able to pick up a second Infernal Dragon.
How was that free?
I'm very confused by this. It was, and we also see Zayce in the general vicinity of it, and it's a Karthus against Sejuani, and somehow the Saints still pick up the kill. Halsey might pay for it with his life here.
What?
Yeah, I'm as confused as you are. There comes Ardentum with teleport. I don't think a lot of action is going to be happening here, but giving up your support again as Halsey's really not having a great game here. 1 and 6. And Zayce, as we said before, Scatter the Weak can't get hit, and there we go. And as soon as we see that get hit, he just gets taken out right from the get-go. Can't even throw it over to you to tell what's happening, because these kills are so explosive.
So explosive, and so is the Herald Impact as it is going to come crashing down. Finally summoned by Sovnix. Such an easy kill. Syndra finding that one, and now the Requiem is here as well. This is just going to be a free turret, and all of the potential gold lead that had maybe been there for the Smugglers before, it's just gone now. Zayce's bounty's gone. Another charge is going to come through, possibly more kills. Tristana jumps over the wall, looks for the Vel'Koz, probably going to get the flash as well. Another turret's going to go down, and suddenly 3,000 is the gold lead for the Saints. What has happened in the last couple of minutes? It all started with that damn Infernal Dragon.
So they lose Infernal, and that's still okay. That's not great, right? You don't want to give an Infernal.
I still can't get my head around that.
Lack of vision? I don't know what else to say about it.
I know what happened.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't notice it happening, and the reason was I was so intrigued about what you were saying about Jinx and the place in the game. They were listening to you. They were like really fascinated as well. They'd lost. Yeah. So actually, the Infernal being lost by Smugglers completely on you there, Chronicler.
I'm very sorry.
You should be. I think a letter of apology is required.
Yeah, 3 Infernals is bad enough in of itself, but 2 going over to Cardiff Saints not great. And then the real thing is the fact that, we said before, Xayzos, he's the one person who can't get hit by anything in this game. Like, if he gets hit by a single skill shot, if he gets hit by a Scatter the Weak, by a hook, it's just over, because Sovnix is so strong right now, and the same goes for Identity, to be quite honest. 2 tanks, just like a 7-2 Jinx, and like 3 other people here without so much as a hitch, losing like 20% XP, absolutely insane. It's just not going to be able to do that much if they get caught there. Like a single CC means that Sovnix is just going to flash forward, press Unleashed Power, and it's over.
Alrighty, we are 20 minutes in the game. The Baron has spawned. No rushed Baron this time by the Saints. They're not able to sneak that one away from the Smugglers, even though they did sneak that Infernal Dragon. It seems to be a specialty of theirs. They are 3,000 gold in the lead, the team from Cardiff, and now they need to find a way to keep shutting down this Jinx so they can take this game.
And this jungle advantage keeps getting crazier and crazier. Phaser Fox has now finished the Morellonomicon, as well is 70 CS up on Recollect, who... like, we saw this from Phaser Fox as well, right? Like, we didn't really comment on it, but he was, like, counter-jungling as Karthus, which is quite crazy. I'm not loving this here, though. Need to be really mindful of how they approach this Baron pit.
The Death Rush has led to the ultimate being channeled by the Maokai. Here comes Sejuani on the backside. Jinx is just shooting from the backline, but there's already been 2 kills for the Sion. Vel'Koz and Lulu completely mispositioned. Karthus managed to take out Sejuani. 3-0 in favour of the Cardiff team right now. It's going to be Jinx managing to get a kill, getting excited, running away from the Sion, but the rest of the team is dying around her. Now the rocket jump is just going to go straight on top of the Chompers. Jinx is going to get away, but Karthus killed off Maokai, and it's going to be Baron for the side of the Cardiff Saints.
And Xayzos flashing forward there and trying to get excited and the slow ball of that. I love that play. I'd really wanted it to work, but without the support system, you can't move into this team as Jinx. Unleashed Power hasn't even been used by Sovnix. Identity and Sovnix just blow up 2 people right from the get-go. No wild growth available. Just not that much he can do. An overextension there from the Smugglers. We saw this before from them as well, where they try to force stuff when they really shouldn't. Same thing happens here, and now it's going to result in a lost Baron once again. It was a 20-minute Baron last time, a 22-minute Baron this time, and what baffles me is that the Cardiff Saints looked like they were poised to lose this game. There was an incredibly fat Jinx opposed them, and then they get an Infernal. Now they win a team fight incredibly decisively and pick up a Baron somehow?
So the Death Bush that was being kind of forced there by the Smugglers, I thought it was quite clever. I thought it could have worked. But the second it didn't work, and then they decided sort of out of desperation to throw Malko's Nature's Grasp out, then all of a sudden that wasn't so hot, and they forced themselves into a fight in a choke point. And you know who's good in a choke point? Syndra's quite good in a choke point. Yeah, Sion's quite good in a choke point. Karthus is quite good in a choke point. And all of a sudden, boom, your team's dead.
And I get it, because they were so, like, they felt like they were close to killing Sovnix, but Recollect and the Shinshin are probably the weakest members on that team right now. And Gargoyle Stoneplate is not yet finished. We just have the Sunfire Cape and the Spirit Visage. That is nice when you want to stay alive, but you just don't do that much as a Shinshin here yet. Like, there weren't really any tools for them available, as we see the Ocean Drake getting taken here, which you can argue whether or not that's something you actually want to do if you're this far ahead and you just picked up Baron buff, right? But you know, take the Ocean Drake all you want. Your Elders are going to be absolutely crazy if it ever gets to that point. But you think you can get Sovnix, and then the call was made to go for it. Like, just go for it, right? We almost have the Sejuani stun on her. We can almost freeze her. Like, a Permafrost is right there. A Shinshin is in the vicinity. But then their tanks just aren't strong enough to deal with the raw power of Phaser Fox, who's quite fed, of Sovnix, of... We talked about 1u1 and how fat Xayzos is, but he's really not that far behind if you look at it, especially in the last fight when his rapid fire kind of wasn't finished yet. And it was basically similar items. Yes, Jinx still going to be really strong, but it's just not enough.
Oh, Decimating Smash and the hook, both landing onto Recollect, uses that stopwatch, trying to keep himself alive. Absolutely not going to work for very long. Sovnix now 5-0-7 after having the 6-0-9 game on Lissandra.
Yeah, and that mid laner is just having a great time here. Still, the Saints are showing a lot of points of weakness, right? Because, especially in that bot lane, I feel like there's so much miscommunication. We didn't really see that in the first game, but there's 2 or 3 instances here where Howlsey is making a call to go, and then once that call was made, like, they need to commit 100%, and they did it a couple of times, as Rakan got. This is, I think, the 3rd time he has to use Wild Growth on himself, and that's just not what you want ever. Apparently, Howlsey decides to go in again. 1-7 now. Worst performing player on his team. He still hits the hooks, but these kind of things you can't really have happen. But does it even matter that much? And what a nice glacial prison there from the...
cancelling the Requiem.
Oh man, recollect. Used the flash as well, but Xayzus is dead, so it doesn't even matter anymore.
Karthus, you might not have got the Requiem out, but the lay waste was enough to pick up the kill onto that super strong Jinx, and now the fight is being started. Actually being started by the Smugglers though. They managed to get the kill onto the Karthus, but that just puts him into his undead form, and now we're going to see Tristana throwing down the bolt. It's going to be Maokai chopped down, possibly for the last time, as the turret is going to fall. Sovnik steps forwards, lands a scan of the week. It's going to be Sejuani trying to turn things around. Really not very tanky just yet though, and Bristle's going to have to step away.
Needs you for now. The Magi's as well there by Fraser Fox. There's actually quite an instrumental kill, as we said before. Usually Karthus, you don't mind too much when you get taken down, but Fraser Fox saying, I'm not going to get a Zhonya's, I'm not going to get any defensive stats. I got my Magi's, I'm building towards a death cap, you know, let it be, just going to push through here, and with 2 Infernals and a 6k gold lead, who can really blame the man? But yeah, a little bit over-eager there from Howlsey. Feel like that's one of the main issues that he's had on Fresh thus far, is that he's really wants to find those engages, and the rest of his team is not always on the same ball, which leads him to having the score that we see here.
The Cardiff Saints are within a couple of structures of taking this series 2-0, of increasing their lead in this group to 3-0 through the first 3 weeks of the Long Arena Clash.
And the only thing you can do now as the Smugglers is your 1 week condition is just keeping Xayzus alive. Rakan can't use Wild Growth on himself. You just need to somehow find a team fight in which Xayzus can stay alive, the front line can just stay alive long enough that Xayzus can pick up a single kill. If Jinx gets excited, Xayzus has flash and heal up back again. The Wild Growth's available, there's so much ability for them to make it work. Then yes, I still feel like the Smugglers, even though they're far behind here, are not out of the game by a long shot. Jinx is so incredibly scary that a single kill, as I said before, can just pop off, but they need to find that, and thus far I feel like they keep trying to force these plays and keep trying to go for stuff when there really isn't in the books, and then you just get blown up by this sheer DPS coming out from the Saints.
So is this the lead that's really been won by the Saints because of the way they've played, or is it a lead that's been thrown away by the Smugglers?
I don't like the word throwing away, because I do feel like the Smugglers tried to make the best of it, but they aren't playing as well around the Fat Jinx as you'd like to see. Like, as Shinshin and Recollect are taking a very proactive approach in how they try to start team fights. But if you're so far behind, like as both tanks, 80 CS, like almost, I guess 90 CS in the jungle, 50 CS in the top lane, not to speak of all the ambient golds that they have, as we see Sovnik's getting taken down there, and there's no Karthus anywhere near. They need to be careful here.
Alright, so the fight is breaking out. Sejuani is a little bit tankier now, and it does look like the catch-out is there. It's going to be Sovnik's dropped down, but look at the Requiem. It's coming in, and damage has already been done by Tristana, taking down the Jinx. The 2 biggest carries on either team are gone, and now the rest of them are trying to fight out for the spores. Maokai's already decided to run away. Sejuani's trying to do the same, but look at Identim. He does not care that that is 3 members of the opposition team. He's just going to keep on running into them. He hasn't got the unstoppable onslaught, but he's still chasing them down, and now he's looking for the inhibitor, and it's going to be the Bristol Smugglers running around with their tails between their legs, or their tentacles if they're Emily Grey.
And 1Yuan, he's not that strong at all. Look at how hard it is for him to chew through Shinshin, but it doesn't matter. If he can just auto-attack turrets, he's still going to destroy them just fine. Identim has just finished the Warmorgs, and combined with the Adaptive Helmet, you're just never ever going to get through him. He's just way too tanky, and Xayzus is getting taken down there as well. That looked like such a good fight for the Smugglers, but it also shows there's just so much ambient damage available. A single ball from Sovnix, or auto from 1Yuan, and then the Requiem, and all of a sudden, doesn't matter how well you're doing as Xayzus, you just get taken down.
the potential fight might happen around Baron here, because I think the Smugglers thought that the Saints would go to the Dragon, but surprise, they haven't. They're here and they are ready to fight over and over again. We're going to see Nature's Grab being thrown down by Malco, trying to get his team to safety. Sejuani dashing around, but the Flash is going to come in, chasing her down. 3 members of the Smugglers trying to leave through the top lane, but they may well find themselves cut off at the pass. Let's see whether or not the Saints can chase them down. It's going to be the choppers thrown down.
Zazos, no!
Comes in. It's going to be Zazos caught by the hook beautifully, and now here comes all of that mad damage. It's going to be 1 kill picked up by Malco, managing to take down the Carpers, but that's just going to channel some extra damage out of the Carpers. Now double kill going over to Sovanix. Jinx and Lulu both felled. Make that a triple kill, because Vel'Koz has been removed from the game as well. The ace is there for the Bristol Smugglers, and now they're just going to take this wave all the way to the Nexus turrets. This is going to be the series, and pre-30 minutes, the Cardiff Saints managed to remove the Bristol Smugglers from the map. They take the series 2-0 and go to 3-0 in their group.
And it was looking a lot more rough than the first series, Greyheart, while we saw the Cardiff Saints effectively dismantle the Smugglers. But the Saints show here in game number 2 that even when playing from a deficit, even though this is not the cleanest of games, they still are able to, in the end, pull it through. Zazos, a really big impact on the Jinx, but he just couldn't make it work. A couple of positioning errors here and there, combined with just the huge level of threat coming out from the Saints. Manta, he did... Did it feel to you like there was a 9-3 Jinx in that game? Because to me it didn't. And of course it's understandable with how big Identim was. Like a single decimating smash, you're gone. Single scatter the weak, you're gone. An auto attack, just a random ball flying right from the Syndra, and a Requiem, you're gone. So it was really hard. But I also feel like it comes down to some mistakes from the Rakan God, for example, from over-eager initiation and trying to force fight. And that was basically the front line from the Smugglers. And also the support, because Thresh was really going for it.
He really, really was. He went for it so hard that he threw away his life a few times. Had to trap his own soul in the lantern, I think. But
learned the lesson from his opposing team's jungler and top laner, but not really what you wanted to see.
No, not quite. I mean, there was just some incredible performances there. I mean, it's quite often the case of me kind of throwing over to you and saying, who would the MVP be? But I just really want to shout out to Sovanix. Across those 2 games, one on the Sandra, one on the Syndra, combined 14, 1 and 21. 1 death and incredible kill participation, phenomenal performance. If I had to give it over to you, would you have gone Sovanix or maybe Identim in the top lane? Who were you loving?
I'm going to go with Identim, but I feel like you can make the case for Sovanix as well.
I just did.
Yeah, no, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was referring to. Yeah.
It was a good case.
Good case indeed.
Yeah. He just wants to ignore it. Sovanix really should have been it, but he's gone, no, can't say what Greyheart.
So Identim.
Identim's MVP,
yeah. So, no, like, honestly, though, the sign was the nail in the coffin. Well, I feel like the Syndra in of itself was already a big threat that you need to deal with. The scatter of the weak is just always something that can screw you over. It was just the sign, the unstoppable onslaught, the inevitability of it all that made it so hard for him to do anything. Because you know that if you're standing in the lane, as we saw there at the end, like Zazos shouldn't ever be there in a position where Sion can unstoppable onslaught in and then hit a decimating smash. Yeah, that's what happened. And that's because Identim was constantly able to find these opportunities. Also, on the Jax, feel like he was very over-eager, and on the Sion, you can't really do that because you're Sion. So instead, stayed with his team, did an incredible job. So even though one could theoretically make the case for Sovanix, as I guess people would want to do, I'm going to give it over to Identim.
And as much as it pains me, Maurits, I have to agree with you that he was an outstanding performer across the 2 games which the Cardiff Saints were able to pick up. And also, as much as it pains me, we do have to take a small break now, but when we are back, we'll bring you the other series we're going to bring you tonight. That's going to be the Bradford Rams and the Craigavon Kestrels taking each other on, also in Group 4. We'll be back soon.
I was a big traditional sports player when I was younger. I have an injury, which means I can't do this anymore, and it sort of fulfills that team aspect for me. I really enjoy gaming from a young age anyway. My name's James Cowling. I play for Business Rugglers, and my favourite game is League of Legends.
I've always played competitive games. I started at Call of Duty, then went through to play CSGO. And when I started playing League, I just wanted to get better and needed to test myself. My name is Jermaine. My tribe is Bristol Smugglers. My favourite game at the moment is League of Legends. For the most part, currently I'm just coaching, but when I do play and sub in, I play jungle.
As a sort of big team sports player, I really enjoy being part of the competition of the Clash. I'm really looking forward to representing Bristol Smugglers and helping the team out get some victories as well.
Been going, I think, for 4 seasons in a row now, and I've enjoyed it every time. Whether the seasons I didn't directly play, I was just there just to enjoy the atmosphere and just watch things happen. It's really cool. It's quite nice to kind of grow friendships between the different tribes and even rivalries.
Come down, you'll meet some really nice people who are easy to talk to, similar sort of interests, which you don't always get to meet up to at sort of school and your standard activities. So just come down and enjoy yourself. It's the most important thing.
apology, still everybody's mad at me. Can't react to my body, 'cause it's begging me. Begging me to cheat. We'll see just how perfect I can. Was it too much to love me too?
There's a party going on at the Belong Arena in Cardiff as the Saints take the Series 2-0 against Bristol Smugglers. And there's a party going on here because we're excited to be able to bring you our second series of the night. It's the Bradford Rams taking on the Craigavon Kestrels.
And after the last series, I was quite surprised because I looked at the lineups like, Smugglers, think they might take it. Instead, we saw them get just completely dismantled in game number one. In game number two, there were real glimpses, specifically Zezo having a great game on the Jinx, but in the end it was not enough to pull through. Just the team play and the decision making from the Saints coming out great there. And now, second game of the night, Rams vs Kestrels. The question is it going to be similarly one-sided, or are we going to see a lot more back and forth here?
Well, so far it has been the Craigavon Kestrels having a bit of a rougher time of it this split, and their team is going to be a Gianni, Jolly Trickster, Battlefresh and Kaiser Taser along with Spuds.
And for the Bradford Rams, Dryden, Drandlefoot, that's a nice alliteration right there. N7 Kiddo, Seer, Overdrive, Seer, Synergy. So I guess we're just going to go with Synergy and Overdrive and Blorky.
Alrighty, going to be able to bring you straight into what is happening in this game as we can see that Champ Select is live. The Rams are going to be, I believe it's the Rams over on the blue side with these first bans. Soraka taken away from the side of the Craigavon Kestrels.
And if we look at the pick and bans, expecting to also see some Zarov bans possibly, as Spuds is a huge fan of that, like coming out from the Kestrels. And on the side of the Rams, maybe we're going to see some Kaiser, some MF, Zed taken away here as well, and 7 Kiddo, huge fan of that. Maybe Bike, maybe Rakan. Like there's a couple, there's a really big champion pool diversities we see here as the Caitlyn gets taken away from a Johnny Greenleaf.
The bot lane very much so being targeted so far as the Rams look to make the life of Kaiser Taser and Greenleaf a little bit harder. Meanwhile, however, the newest champion in the game is also the newest one, getting the ban hammer. It's going to be Silas taken away. No hijacking.
Indeed. I really love Silas. I've been playing him a lot. Like the Abscond Abduct is such a fun, you dash in, you get the shield, and then you hit him again, and you slap him with your passive. But it's also quite strong in lane, and like the hijack can get really obnoxious into the late game. See Lucian getting men away, whereas you say Castrol's really trying to secure and good early game lane here for themselves, making sure that their lane is going to be facing the oppression from the likes. And if they pick up a Vayne, that makes a lot of sense, because you don't want to face Lucian or Caitlyn.
Alrighty, it's going to be the Xerath just absolutely insta-locked along with the Ashe.
And I'm quite surprised, because looking at Spuds' OPGG, I think is like 80 Xerath games and like 20 on everything else, so I would have expected that would have drawn a ban, but the Kestrel saying with a first pick for both their support and their bot lane as well, like they're really showing their strategy. Kestrels are saying we need to win on bot lane and we're just going to make that work right now, pick up the Zoe as well while we're at it, but like this bot lane needs to do well. And Vayne Thresh is quite strong, but the hard engage on the Rams is already making me weep, because that is just an incredibly deadly combo coming out there.
Alrighty, the second phase of bans coming in now. We're going to see the Renekton taken away from the top lane.
And Renekton will also see something like the Yorick, maybe an Udyr or Riven ban. Like you can hear, there's a lot of non-meta picks that are being used here by both of these teams. Also, maybe some Hakarim jungle. Is something that I also would not be surprised to see. There's just so many of these weird picks that both these teams like to favour. There is the Yorick ban. Yorick in general, quite strong. Although more of a counter pick as opposed to, say, a Sion, who still has not been taken away. He's probably going to get picked up by one of these two teams, because the undead giant is still as scary as he ever was.
Yeah, and just to clear up, we do have just a very small spectator bug, so don't be too worried about what's saying at the top of your screens. It is the Rams on the blue side and the Kestrels over on the red side. As some of those tags might have given you the little bit of a clue. So it is the Rams who are drafting that interesting late game Vayne Thresh combo in the bot lane, able to see if they can make the plays, but they're going to have to do it with an Udyr trying to flash Bear Slap onto their faces whenever they want.
And Udyr quite scary as well. The Kestrels, there we go. Of course, the amount of hard engage that they have is also going to bolster the Udyr, because Udyr, one of the problems is, like early game is quite strong. If you can find the opposing jungler, that it's looking to be a Jax, unless they want to go for Cho'Gath jungle, but can't imagine that. The problem with Udyr is, like, unless you find the enemy jungler, like, you just ran at people, and like Vayne condemns you, like, well, okay, I guess I can't really do anything. Yeah, see ya. Well, that's a bummer. Zoe, that's also not great. Thresh, even worse. So with the hard engage from the Ashe, from the Leona, all of a sudden, you have a way of making that work. We see that there's, I think, no single knock-up available besides just Yasuo himself. So the Yasuo pick kind of surprised me there, but does mean that Battlefresh can try to go for some big outplays in the top lane. Let Cho'Gath, with all the built-in sustain that he has, just like eats units, just chilling on top, and we see the Jax jungle coming out there for Randallfoot.
Well, I do completely agree with you that the Udyr is going to have a rough old time with his standard ganks. As soon as level 6 comes in, if we're going to see the stuns coming out of the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, the Solar Flare coming down, if those are kind of connected to a potential slap from the bear, that definitely will make things a little bit harder for the side of the Rams. But I do believe the Rams have really drafted nicely here, and with that Jax in the jungle, if it can go off anywhere near the same way that we saw it do earlier on this evening, it's going to be a nasty old time for the Kestrels. I don't really know who wins in a straight out 1v1 between a Kestrel and a Ram, but I guess we find out tonight.
I imagine the Kestrel, because he just fly away if he's losing, right?
I know, it feels like if a Ram has hit you, you're not getting up anytime soon.
Yeah, but like you look at the Ram and you just like fly. You go for like the hit and run, right? So maybe that's what we're going to see here as well. But like regardless of that, you go for a hit and run, you just never get. If you get hit by the Ram, you just lose.
I don't know. Turn off David Attenborough. Come and watch Arena Clash. This is where we find out who wins in the battle between Rams and Kestrels. Whichever one here comes out the victor here, they're the master race.
Between these two animals.
Between those two.
Yeah, no, obviously.
Yeah. Obviously, they're not necessarily better than any pirates, because pirates are probably going to eat both Rams and Kestrels.
Yeah, pirates are quite scary themselves and have a way of finding their food and toying with it a little bit as well, as we saw in the series where they were featured last time. Also, something that's interesting to note is that on Ajani Greenleaf on the Ashe doesn't really have a way of... I'm not sure what happened there, but sure. Ajani Greenleaf on the Ashe doesn't really have a way to get away from, say, an angry Jax. So if Drandlefoot does get ahead, as we said before, it's just looking so incredibly scary. As, we saw some kerfuffle there. I'm not sure what was really going on. And Greyheart is having a rough time here as well, so I'm just going to talk over that. As we see Randallfoot moving towards his own rat buff, Spuds has gone back now, and not too much actioning happening there.
Alrighty, so we are just about to have the buff spawning. It does look like both the teams are going to be starting on the bottom half of the map. That's going to mean a blue buff for Udyr, while Jax, who was taking that little bit of poke from the Xerath, decided not to recall. Going to lose a little bit of his health earlier on, but hopefully going to get a nice leash out of his junglers at the red buff.
Should be
junglers? He's got 3 junglers in the game.
Yeah, you know, if you're in the jungler, you're a jungler. You know, what does it matter? Why are we here? What's even happening?
That is how it's now going to be recognised. I hear coming in from the new system. There was a small swap being done in, because they're trying it out in NA at the moment, where this new system comes in. That's the one, the positional rankings. And apparently, if you go and spend, let's say, a couple of minutes covering mid lane as a jungler, it can actually recognise and go, oh yeah, here's some LP as a mid laner.
Got him.
So now all you got to do is leash for your jungler, and you're going to get all that extra positional LP.
And just tax your mid-wave extra well, because they're going to love it if you lost hit all their minions. And we see Spud going for the cleanse there. No defensive summoners coming out from N7 Kiddo, who's really wanted to go for some aggressive plays there with the Ignite. Dryden's just playing it safe here, as the Cho'Gath, no real need for him to try and go and make plays. Battlefish does want to, but with level 2 being hit, I think he really wants to go for that Sleeper Trouble Ball hits. And some good arrest going down back and forth. And there's the invade coming out from Jolly Trickster already.
Alrighty, the knockup did land over there onto Dryden. He goes down pretty low, not having to use the flash just yet, so able to stay safe against this Yasuo, who's constantly trying to harass the big meaty Cho'Gath. Meanwhile, Sleepy Trouble Bubble is going to land. That is Udyr trying to invade, giving away first blood. Xerath having a bit of a rough time of it in the mid lane as well, and in the top lane, this is just looking really horrible for the Cho'Gath in the early stages.
Yeah, but Cho'Gath, of course, has the sustain for both mana and has the grasp as well. As we see, Kaiser gets tagged out by the Silver Bolt arrows, and that passive is really going to hurt. And Spud was already getting chunked down, and Jolly Trickster gets found by Kiddo. Has to use the flash, but no Igniter, still has that available. And a first block for Rizzo is not how you want this lane to start off. No hook either.
Zenith Blade is going to tag on to the support, but meanwhile Drandalfoot has just been able to pick up a really, really easy kill. Walks in, doesn't even burn the flash, jumps onto the face of the Xerath, and 2 kills already for the Rams. Rams greater than Kestrels, we're finding it out right now.
Yeah, this is live nature feed, no documentary happening here, and I'm quite confused as to why Drandalfoot was able to just walk into lane, why Spud was even still there with how low he was. Because as you say, there's not even a need to flash, he just like leap striked on top of him and just blew him up.
Watch the mighty Rams slowly stalking their prey, the Kestrel unaware of its terrible fate. That's how it would go, right?
That's very good. Like I want to do it, but I think my English accent is going to make it sound too terrible.
I'm fairly confident mine sounded too terrible already, so I wouldn't worry too much.
I thought you did a memorable job, man.
Thank you very much. That means a lot to me, Mal.
That's good.
So 2-0 and a nearly 1,000 gold lead for the Rams so far. Things definitely looking good for this team as they look to pick up another win here in Group 4 of Arena Clash. Meanwhile, however, the CS disadvantages are starting to show up in the top lane, where Cho'Gath has managed to get himself a bit of his health back. He's now 12 CS up on the Yasuo. That's actually a pretty strong start considering how it looked like he might be about to give away first blood a while ago.
Yeah, Drandalfoot hitting level 4 of his own blue buff that was unfortunately invaded by Jolly Trickster. I say unfortunately for him because he got killed there. And yeah, Spud's still able to CS well, which you're going to do with Xerath just because of the range of your champion. But as these levels progresses, I feel like a single Sleepy Trouble Bubble, a single Counter-Strike getting hit on top of Spuds, especially with the cleanse being down, is just going to end in him getting absolutely decimated with the Ignite still available, with the Electrocuted N7 Kiddo. And it's just looking really scary. The same can be said for the bot lane though, because we see that is still relatively even. If Greenleaf or Johnny Greenleaf and Kaiser Taser hits level 6 while on an even footing, there's some real possibilities for some real nasty plays there. As we said before, the layering of CC is quite difficult to deal with. If they can hit a root on Daz and then follow it up with the arrow, with the solar flare, there's just nothing they can really do.
Alrighty, so it's just a nice slow burn game in the minute. A couple of those kills coming from some slight misplays from the Kestrels. However, now things have slowed down and the Kestrels are seemingly happier to play it a little bit slower. And as things scale up, that Ashe and that Leona is going to be quite a scary combination.
Indeed, we see Xerath going for the ultimate. Does N7 Kiddo has quick feet? It looks like he does, because unfortunately for us, the camera moved to top lane where not too much is happening. N7 Kiddo does get taken out a little bit lower there, but in the end he will survive as last breath is used, but Dryden says, you have no items. You only have a Doran's Blade, and that doesn't tickle me in the slightest.
And Dryden's still got the feast available, so
Yep.
you know, if that fight were to go on for much longer, the Cho'Gath definitely would be getting a bit of an advantage. I do think that at the end, Enkidu was dodging around. Spuds held that last shot for so very, very long. I believe 2 out of the 3 shots were landing. Unfortunately, not quite enough to pick up the kill onto the Zoe, who recalls, is able to pick up that lost chapter.
And more arrest. And Dryden's just cool as a cucumber. Just eats the tornadoes, eats the hits. Conqueror does get proc though, needs to be careful. Feast is still available. I don't think he has the mana for it.
Absolutely not.
Battlefest tries to go for it, but Trident still has the TP as well. I feel like now he's just being overly greedy because, yes, you have good sustain as Cho'Gath, but this is very risky because if Battlefest, like, if he just flashed on top of you, I think you'd be, like, guaranteed dead if you're not careful.
We might be about to find out, especially as Battlefest has got that little bit of shielding tankiness. However, the Rupture's going to land, and it's going to be a step forward from Dryden. He flashes away, respecting the feast. Maybe there was enough mana, maybe there wasn't. We'll never know.
And Jolly Trickster was standing in the brush there, kind of waiting for stuff to happen, and it just didn't. Like, he was looking for an opportunity, but then Battlefest gets taken low, has to force the flash as well, and all of a sudden it's just looking bad to us because now no flash available for the top lane means that we might have some issues once Drandalfoot visits that lane again. We see a big CS advantage for him in the jungle, and these CS advantages in every other lane seem to be relatively even, so Bradford Rams doing a great job here, but just in terms of like how well they have kill pressure, they seem to be doing a lot better.
Though I do like the way the Kestrels are being patient. They were giving away, you know, some early kills from some slight misplays, from some questionable decisions, but up until now they haven't given away anything else. Again, managing to avoid this gank coming out of Drandalfoot, but now it's going to be the turn of Ashe and Leona just to step away and go, you know what, we're not going to get caught by this.
Fortunately for them, they're not, and I'd love to see a play being set up here by Ajanic Relief and Kaiser Taser. As soon as that Solar Flat is available, maybe you have Jolly Trickster visit as well. But really, of course, is one of the problems is that if he doesn't get his gear rolling early, as he gets infected now by Drandalfoot, Champions does not do that much late game unless you can really set up a nice split push, which I think is going to be rough considering the fact that Battlefish is the only one to teleport that in that lane. No, the invade isn't that successful, but if you don't get ahead here as the Bradford Rams, you're fairly comfortable. With the Kestrel's composition though, I'd really love them to try and make something work in this mid-game.
It feels like they need to because there's so many scaling champions for the Rams, as you were saying. So right now, it's very much on the Kestrels to make something happen. We're still to see a potential Flash Bear slap, and at the moment, it's just Jolly Trickster kind of going around, getting himself up to 6, power farming as much as possible, but not really doing, you know, anything noteworthy. No shocking ganks, no... what term was it Trick G was used to? He's always trying to bash down. Open the gates.
Open the gate. It's da gates.
Da gates. Sorry, trademark.
Yeah.
But you know, none of that's really happening yet from the Udyr. Possibly if he keeps farming up, he might be able to late game, but it feels like it's nothing in comparison to what will be happening with the Jax in the Vayne. Meanwhile, Battlefest is the only one with all that extra late game damage, and he's not having a great time against the Cho either.
No, you need to make that hard CC work for you, starting now up until the next 10-15 minutes, because then once everyone really starts grouping up again, once you know the team fights start breaking out, once Jax gets a couple of items, it becomes so much more dangerous. And the problem with the Vayne is as well, like now you still have the opportunity while she's in the lane to go for these aggressive plays, but once she's out of the lane, like you're not going to hit a Solar Flare on her anymore, you're not going to hit an Enchanted Crystal Area anymore. It becomes a lot harder. Cloud Dragon get picked up there as well. I will not be surprised to see an aggressive play coming out from the Rams towards that Rift Herald as well, because I feel like the Kestrels don't really have a clear plan in mind where they're trying to, you know, make use of that early pressure that they might have, where they try to go for these proactive plays. Feels like they're just kind of waiting, and if you just let the Rams wait, they're going to be very happy with that.
Yeah,
we see Jolly Trickster moving top, and there's the flash, and that's the kill with Feast.
The Feast is used. That is a consumed Yasuo. Meanwhile, in comes Jolly Trickster, and he is going to have a rough old time of things. He's got Zera for backup, but he's already had to flash himself away. No Flash Bear slap today. Instead, a flash escape into the waiting arms of Drandalfoot, and that is going to be the Jax going forward. Chilling Smite, nice easy kill, number 1. Still has the flash available, can jump over this wall if he finds himself wanting to. Zeref's already thrown out the stun, and that's going to increase the opportunity of him being turret dove. Now let's see whether or not this is going to be the Jax and the Cho'Gath deciding they want another kill. No, they don't.
No, I was about to say Spud's dead, but Instead,
Spud's not dead.
yeah. Instead, they opt to go.
Thought it was
for-
going to be mashed potato.
I know, right? Oh, I love mashed potatoes. I haven't had them so long. It's quite a good meal, isn't it? You know, like thick, creamy, savoury. Some really good stuff. What's also good is the fact that Drandlefoot is incredibly fat and is looking to pick up another kill here. A little bit over-eager because Jolly Trickster's making his way as well. Sleepy Drandlefoot doesn't really hit anyone. But if even a single Paddle Star hits, and 7 Kiddo is still going to absolutely demolish. There's Dryden coming in as well, and they need to back off here. Castros can't do anything there.
And that was the spell speed there, having the Hex Tech on top of it as well. So loads of damage coming out of the Zoe, who's now 2-0 to go along with the Jax, who is also 2-0-1. That Cloud Drake just speeding them up, getting them across the map faster to pick up more kills, and it is accelerating the speed of this game as well, because as we approach 12 minutes, the gold lead has raised to nearly 3,000. The Kestrels feel like they are playing to not lose, but now the Rams are playing to win.
Yeah, the Rams are charging forward relentlessly. Dryden has finished and Rand wins first. It's a very long time since I've seen that. Makes a lot of sense considering the fact that he's standing against Yasuo, champion who obviously relies on his critical strikes a lot more than any other character. It's still quite impressive. The problem is that Drandlefoot already finished the Phage, and if he gets a Triforce, I feel we're going to see a repeat of game number 1 where, was it, I think 5-1 Jax at one point, just completely took over the game. He didn't when he did get killed a couple of times. And N7 Kiddo on the Zoe is going to be such a nuisance in the late game. Like, Zoe is just one of those champions at the moment that, regardless of whether or not she's actually balanced, she just feels so terrible to play against. Because, like, this, you know, like, I think Spud's dead. He uses the cleanse, so he gets away, but if he doesn't cleanse that, he just gets hit by Paddle Star, gets hit by more Sparkles, and it's just over.
Yeah, sad news for you there, Spud. Cleanse is going to be on a much longer cooldown than the Sleepy Trouble Bubble is, so it's definitely going to make for a very, very tough mid lane for a little while longer for the Craig, Gaven, Kestrel's man, Spud.
And that's also something, like, Zoe is punishable, which is why you need to be a little bit careful when picking it. But if you play against Spuds, who plays really defensively, that's one thing, but Jolly Trickster, as we said before, not having a single impact in this game, 0-2-0 at the moment. If he doesn't punish picks like the Zoe, who early on are just not quite as strong, instead, he got punished by Zoe. He was invading, he got killed, gave up first blood, and on the back of that, N7 Kiddo has just had such an easy game. This is the CC we were waiting for.
The Zenith Blade, the Solar Flare, and Enchanted Crystal Arrow all stacked to complete the destruction of Daz. He goes down on the Vayne. Greenleaf managing to get that one kill. Jax, however, here for the turnaround, getting the double kill onto the bot lane of the Craig Haven Kestrels, and that's going to be a 4-0-1 Jack. You're able to give your Vayne up for anything you want if you can get those 2 kills on the Jack.
Yeah, Daz finishes his Blade the Rune King, you know, just a kill going over to a Giant Greenleaf. That's a bit unfortunate, but it's not too much of an issue as they get so much turret plating here, just shy of 14 minutes. That has to feel very good,
nice.
and it looks like they're going to be pushing through, maybe try on the next wave to go for the turret kill. And you got that match, and Dead Drandlefoot goes back, gets a huge buy. And it's going to snowball even further while Jolly Trickster has a skirmish with Sable with Cinderhulk Enchantment and not much else going on.
That last piece of turret plating fell at 13 minutes and 59. That's a nice time to knock that final plate off, and then just after the 14 minutes, first turret is indeed going to drop down. The gold lead is past 4,000 right now. Just what can the Kestrels do to stop the bleeding?
And that's my issue with this comp. You kind of, the comp is also a little bit scattered because you have the Yasuo, the Ashe, and I guess the Udyr as well, and the Leona who really want to hard engage, but Xerath really doesn't, right? Xerath wants to hang back at the back of a team fight, back in his lane, underneath a turret, as I think Jolly Trickster's in a heap of trouble here. Gets Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, and I gets Feasters as well. There's the knock-up. It's also...
No stack.
No stack?
No. Feast was just short.
Dryden. Turns out if you just...
It's not even worth killing him at that point.
No, why would you? You know, just let the Udyr run away. It's not like he's doing much else this game. Fortunately for Jolly Trickster. All jokes aside, this is kind of the problem with a draft where, like you have here, as Drandlefoot picks up another kill on Spuds. The only thing where Jolly Trickster could really make stuff work is you're not going to kill the Cho'Gath unless your Yasuo gets hugely hit. So it's either in the mid lane or the bot lane. But the bot lane didn't really provide an opportunity for him to make anything work. And the same went for Spuds. So that means that Jolly Trickster is already kind of beyond his power spike unless he can get like a split push going. But it's going to be really hard with how strong everyone is on the side of the for Rams. Because with how good they are right now, I think they could just dive, even if you, as the Castrals, decide to go for something, because the lead is so incredibly high. So it's not meant as a burn to Jolly Trickster, as more of a general, the lack of decisiveness from the Castrals hurts him most.
And the Kestrels just look lost. They're walking around the river. They don't know what they're doing. Leona gets caught out by the Paddle Star after the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. The Mountain Dragon spawned, and there's no way they can do it. You talk about Jolly Trickster, almost missing his Power Spike. He's not even going to have a Power Spike. This is a Cinder Hulk Udyr. Not any kills to his name, just the 3 deaths. And right now, he's becoming so very irrelevant in this game, as is the Xerath. The Sleepy Trouble Bubble lands. Paddle Star, bish bash bosh, easy for Kiddo.
And Johnny Greenleaf gets hit. As the Blade of the Rune King, and a 2-for-1 is a little bit ambitious here from Drident. I would have liked to see him go for that with Drain the Foot on the way as well, and Jolly Trickster in the vicinity, but not quite there. I think we still would have been able to turn it around. Ninja Tarbis combined with almost the Glacial Shroud and the Renderant's Omen. You're never going to chew through that Shogun fast enough.
And that's 2 ultimates burned. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow, the Solar Flare, both gone now from Leona and Ash. And what have you done? Not even stopped the split push?
No.
Not even a little bit.
This is the problem, right?
No.
As the Castrals, like with this composition, as Jolly Trickster has the Flash State, does get out of his life this time. And I believe to boot, so he's not too unhappy about that. But the problem is, with the Castrals composition, once you fall behind, there's just not that much opportunities for good plays. And that's what we're seeing here. They've fallen really far behind. Drandlefoot is incredibly big. Same goes for N7 Kiddo. There's just not that much you can do. The hard engage just doesn't do anything in this situation anymore.
Oh my word, that's going to be Zenith Blade catching onto the Zoe just as she portal jumps away. That's going to bring Kaiser into a very, very awkward spot. It's going to be the flash being used by Dryden as he tries to pick himself up a kill. Going to be able to nom up a Leona. Nice, easy kill. Now looking for the second onto Greenleaf, who's trying to get away, but running straight into a Rupture. Has been knocked up so very far and taken down back to the fountain. Meanwhile, an attempted 4v1 is going on. It's not going to happen, though, because Dryden finally drops down, but got the 2 kills he wanted.
I thought that Drandlefoot was going to be on time, and was going to be a heroic stand from Dryden just long enough for the Jax to come in and
He doesn't love his top
up
laner that much.
And the 2 kills. He's not giving him a lot of attention, has he? But he doesn't need to. Dryden's just there was one gank early on where they got picked up, and that was pretty much it here. Battle Fresh not having a great time there in the top lane spots. They're looking for plays here, but it just feels like the Castrals are kind of lost. Flash stun doesn't hit, and goes for the last breath. Does pick up the kill on Das, though, who's the only one who's died 2 times in this game.
Yeah,
from the side of the Rams.
And it's going to be the Flace so nicely timed there from Overdrive, managing to get the Thresh out, and the slow is going to land onto the Jax. A bit of damage coming down as well. That's enough to deter the 5-0-1 jungler from coming in from yet another gank.
Is it though?
No, probably not.
You say that, Graham. It just goes in regardless. Drandlefoot knows I have a Triforce, I have N7 Kiddo, I'm not scared of anything whatsoever.
Yep. You know what I really love about this game? Every time I see a Cho'Gath, I'm reminded of my favourite pun I've ever heard from any caster. Wonderful guy called Cradden, who had an Alistar and a Cho'Gath in the same game. And he said, and just like an Alistar that's been hit by a Rupture, the stakes couldn't be any higher.
I have no response to that.
It's the best League of Legends pun, right?
Yeah. I have no response to that. It's genuinely really good, but it's also you say it in such a deadpan way that I want to laugh, but it's hard, Just like the games for the Castrals.
It's been a really, really hard game for them. They must already be thinking towards game 2, because at the moment it feels like there is nothing that can stop the charge of the Rams as yet another massive, massive chomp comes through. Dryden taking him down. And right now we are not even 20 minutes in. The Baron hasn't even spawned. We can't even get that stack for the Feast of Dryden. And yet, this game just seems beyond the Kestrels.
Yeah, the Glacial Shroud now finished, and it's just on the Dryden. But he doesn't even need offensive stats to completely demolish the line. As we said before, I think the Castrals' problem is, early game, it felt like they didn't really have a plan. And with a composition like this, if you drive that much hard engage, you need to make it work. You need to plan around it. You need to play it, especially
level 3 Flash Bear slap in the bot lane.
Yeah, that's what you want to see. Or at least on level 6, right? You try to hit that spike as early as you can. You get Jolly Trickster there. You get Spuds halfway through the river, so he can just assist you with his ultimate. And then there's the opportunities for plays. But instead, he just goes from bad to worse as Battle Flash just gets completely deleted.
Oh, I was just waiting for the damage to come through, but in the end, it just arrives a little bit too late from Spuds. He does manage to help his Udyr pick up another kill. However, unfortunately, it was at the cost of the Yasuo's life. Everyone's always sad to see a Yasuo die.
He says, sarcastically. Because everyone, I mean, it's true because everyone always bans Yasuo, so you don't have to deal with him in your solo queue games.
No, it's because they don't want to see him die.
Yeah, maybe.
And you know who else you don't want to see die? Cho'Gath. Not when he's, going around nomming, tasting all of life's delicacies. He's just looking forward to eating an Ashe. But no, instead, he gets taken down. It's just a sad, sad story of Monster being slain by two horrible ladies.
The poor Void Monster. He just wanted to eat some people.
Yeah.
He was just going about, part of the team of the Rams, Dryden just walking around there, chomping, stomping, and instead he gets taken down. Yeah, instead he gets taken down by two angry ladies who are like, hey, you can't relentlessly murder us.
Those two angry ladies are actually starting to do a little bit more now. There's the Runans and the Blade of the Rune King both completed on Ashe, who has the 2 kills, only the 3 deaths to her name. Actually starting to put out a considerable amount of damage, and I was almost surprised to actually see Ashe and Leona be able to take down the beast.
Same here, honestly. Righteous Glory is now finished, but with the Randuins and the Ninja Tabis in particular, I just felt like they wouldn't really made it. The fact that the Ignite was used there means that the heal from just Cho'Gath in general was also made less potent, so it makes a lot of sense. So, Johnny Greenleaf, like the Ashe is going to skill okay, you just are going to have a terrible guy in late game because Drandalfoot and Seven Kid are going to be looking for you, and in a duel you just don't win versus the Vayne.
This is genius from the Kestrels. Put Ashe up against the Cho'Gath, who's got a Randuin's.
Yeah.
You can't stop a crit when a champion can't crit.
Ah, there we go.
They are thinking outside the meta.
They really are. Unfortunately, Battleflash isn't really having a big impact yet. And if you look at this game, even with the gold deficit as the Kestrels, what are you looking for? You're looking for the classic Yasuo 5-man tornado. Just stack them all on top of each other. Hit a tornado, hit a solar flare, hit a last breath, and then Spots just does a lot of damage, and then all of a sudden you clean ace them, you get the Baron, and you turn it around. Like, that is the only conceivable way, besides, say, Daz standing in a sideline, or N7 Kiddo getting hit by an Enchanted Crystal Arrow, because those are legit things that can happen, but with how Rams have been playing thus far, I just don't see it happening, at least for this game.
Oh, it looks like we might be about to have a little bit of a rumble around the Dragon. It's the second Cloud Dragon. It surprises me that the Kestrels even look to want to try and contest this one, and in the end they say, actually, why are we doing this? We don't want to contest this one. They give away the 3rd Dragon of the game for free to the Rams. That one's going to get nommed up by what is now a very, very large Cho'Gath. He looks like he's around about the 10-11 stacks mark.
There's also quite the gentleman at the hook hits there. And that is probably going to be Nesha.
Up you go.
Yeah.
It's going to be 1 kill for Zoe as Ashe gets dropped down. You can have all the damage you want, because when you get caught out in a big way, you're going to drop so very fast with the damage coming out of the Zoe, coming out of the Jax, coming out of the Vayne. Even the Cho'Gath is able to consume and feast on whatever he wants to. Herald gets popped down in the mid lane a long, long way away from this inhibitor turret. By the time this turret drops down, the Herald might finally just about crawled into the base. Let's see whether or not that Herald decides to attack onto the Nexus turret.
Are they actually going to end with Shelly here?
They're going to try to. They want a Dancing Herald. We want a Dancing Herald. Give us a Dancing Herald.
Dancing
Give us a kill.
Herald. There's the last breath.
Yes, that's the one. No, it's not. Battlefesh is dead. And that's going to be Enchanted Crystal Arrow, blocked up beautifully by Fresh. It would have possibly been able to do enough damage to get the kill onto Cho'Gath, but instead it's going to be the support who manages to block it.
They abandoned Shelly.
I am so very disappointed in the Rams. They may end up winning this game, but they have lost my support.
They've lost, they've won the war of the Rift, they've lost the war of the heart.
That's what really matters here. No, it's not. That's a massive kill. Jax just destroying whatever he wants. 6-0 and 2. Drandalfoot doing bits across the map. A second inhibitor may well fall. Double kill going over as Jax just jumps on the face of Leona, and that sounded all sorts of wrong.
What do you do here as the Kestrels? That's the problem, right? Jolly Trickster comes in. I'm not even sure if he wins this, if he keeps chasing there. I know how low Jax is for Counter-Strike, just going to do all kinds of terrible things. The fact there's no chilling or no Rat's Mind available, though, might mean that without the challenge from that, you're not going to be able to chew through. So, Drandalfoot doesn't want to take the risk, doesn't want to risk his perfect KDA and 1,000 gold shutdown on the enemy Udyr, and instead they back off here. I think what we're going to see now is very clear. We're going to see maybe Drandalfoot keep going for like a bot lane play, but what we're definitely going to see is a play towards the Baron Nasha, because with that Mountain Drake getting picked up, that is just not a lot they can do.
certainly makes the most sense for the Rams if they're going to sort of play paint by numbers and take this game slow and steady. Meanwhile, Batafesh doing his very best to get a little bit of CS, but he's about to run into a Jax who throws down the counter-strike, manages to pick himself up one kill. That one goes over to Dryden.
Why not
Now
even
we're
need
gonna see-
Baron here?
No, Udyr is going to drop. Sorry, Leona is going to drop down as well as Udyr runs for his life. Xerath and Ashe, the two carries, completely unable to carry this team. Their backs are too far broken by the Bradford Rams, and an inhibitor has already fallen in the mid lane. There's an exposed inhibitor in the bot lane as well, and it's just going to be a bit of indecision actually for the Rams as they decide not to do anything.
I guess they're going to three-man the Baron while
Yeah, I
Dryden
guess, why
keeps
not?
pushing on. Why not? You haven't opened the inhibitor and 2 people are down. But you can also take it slow, take it breezy, make sure that you absolutely guarantee do not lose the game. This is the way to do that, right? You can take a little bit of a risk, decide to go in and make it work that way, but instead, Dreadnought needs to be a little bit careful. They need to have someone else tanking. Not sure why he's still doing it, but doesn't matter. He's 8-0 Jax. He doesn't care whatsoever. The Nashor gets picked up, and I think that is the final nil in the coffin for the Castrals there.
Yeah, never mind the final nail in the coffin. I think they've probably dug the grave and started to cover it back over with soil at this point. The Arcane Barrage coming in from the Xerath, just not, right to the Arcane, not enough to manage to get a kill onto Drandalfush, whose fancy footwork, despite tanking the Baron, was enough to help secure that one for his team. Right now, the 6-1 and 9 Zoe. Pretty impressive KDA, but I think we've got to say the real star of the show is this Jax. 8-0 and 3. Trinity Force complete, Sterex Gauge, Merc Treads, a Corefield's Warhammer. He's not even completed his jungle item.
You know how much I love to disagree with you, Greyeyed. I'd love to say that Dryden is
So
the
much.
real...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really annoying for you, isn't it? I love how, like, Dryden's also having a great game here on Cho'Gath, but I agree with you. Drandalford, every time there's a skirmish that the Bradford Rams don't outright win, he's the one who just comes in, lead strikes, picks up the kill. He's done this so well throughout this game. Great bounty. Last time when we saw Identa play the Jax, there were a couple of oopsies where he went to a side lane, just got blown up by 3-4 people. But no such thing here from Drandalford, who's really knowing his limits, just relentlessly pushing forward. Now they have the Baron waves in every Baron minions in every wave. N7 Kiddo is pushing up top. They're setting up a trap here for Drandalford, but it doesn't matter if Trident spots them.
It's a trap! Oh no, it's a trap being turned around on the Kestrels, and it's going to be the Rams who are looking to pick up yet more kills. The support is going to drop down as Daz gets his second kill of the game. They're not even going to bother looking at the inhibitor because they are going to have the complete dive under the Nexus turrets. Vayne picks up one kill, Cho'Gath gets another. Yasuo trying to do his very best to stop these minions coming in, and he decides to throw down the last breath, and with a turret shot or two, doesn't quite manage to take down the Thresh, whose lantern
Look
saves
at
him in the
Overdrive's
nick
health.
of
What
time.
is this?
I don't know how he lived. What I do know is both Nexus turrets are gone. This game is completely and utterly over at 28 minutes. It went longer than I thought it would, but the Kestrels get demolished by the Rams in game 1 of this best of 3 series.
And that answers the age-old question: who is better, Castrals or Rams?
Told you,
And
Rams.
Yep. For now, this is stick with, because we saw in game number, or in the first game rather, in the first best of 3, how I mean, it didn't get turned around in the end, but it looked like it could, which is also, you know, that counts for something.
I want to
guess.
point out that, you know, our main part of the debate today has been, I thought that if a Ram got in there and got like the headbutt in on a Kestrel, that was it. The fight was over. You thought the Kestrel could kind of dip in and do little bits.
No.
So far, I'm kind of, you know, going on.
Yeah.
Well,
I think you were right.
Okay.
So that's actually a very good question.
So
that got posed there.
Okay, so our producer is now posing the most important question, and please answer this one in Twitch chat, because, you know, we're definitely going to answer it here. Would you rather fight, I want you to get this right, 10 Kestrel-sized Rams or 1 Ram-sized Kestrel? I mean,
I'm going to go with 10 Kestrel-sized Rams, because let me tell you, you know what a really, really big Kestrel basically is? It's basically a raptor. Like from Jurassic Park. Like, it is not going to end well for you. Like, I can guarantee you. Can you imagine, like, death from above, and then, like, it just walks at you and, like, the tail ends? No.
I've been sort of like marauded by...
Like, you're like small, like a ram this size. You're like, okay, like look at you, little ram. Try to, come on, try to charge me. Go
Have
for
you
it,
never
buddy.
been to a petting zoo? Those things are vicious.
They're small. It's all right.
Yeah, Kestrel-sized Rams are basically Poros, yeah. I
Right?
reckon I could take 10 Poros. But there's the problem. If they are Poros, then Braum's going to be there to protect them, so actually we're not winning that fight.
Yeah, fair. Nothing. Don't ever retort to that. We see the Zoe ban. We see the Zed.
Oh, sorry, there's a game. I completely forgot there was another game.
There will be.
There might
And
be. Yeah.
The Zoe wasn't really the problem in my opinion, but N7 Kiddo Zoe was quite oppressive, so I don't mind the ban coming out there. We also see a switch up here as Dryden's. I completely understand. Like, his performance last game was so lackluster. I think he ended up 6-2 and 10 on Cho'Gath.
Yeah, not good enough.
He built full tank as well. Like, just get blocking, let him play some games. And again, the 0 pickup for Spuds. He was actually able to hold himself well in the lane. It was more everything else that didn't really go according to plan for the Castrals. And my main question for the second game is, can the Castrals try and find themselves a real game plan? Because we noticed that in the draft, like, there were glimpses of what you might expect from this composition, but then in the game it just was never executed. If you draft a Leona, if you draft an Ashe, if you draft a Nude, that early game needs to be yours. The mid game needs to be yours. You need to start these team fights decisively, and that just never happened. Instead, we see again here the Vayne and Thresh bot lane. That's last time. He didn't have a great game, but in most other games he probably would look quite alright, but just the rest of his team was just absolutely dominating.
Yeah, he had to live in their shadow very slightly, and immediately seeing the same ADC support combo being drafted into it.
So mid as well, right?
Yeah, so both teams just completely going by the formula of what worked or perhaps didn't work for them in the last game. The only change obviously coming in, because this has always been banned away from the mid lane. This Aurelia being hovered, obviously there is potential flex between top and mid lane, so that will pose a little bit of a question for the side of the Kestrels as
No
they
Jax
look
ban
oh god, yeah, no Jax ban. Ban the Jax, please.
They still have 2 more bans. They're going to ban it.
Why didn't they lock it in? Could have been flexed.
Well, I think that Blocky saw the past game, and he's saying, you know, give me Aurelia, and Battlefash is not going to have a good time, as we see a lot of Casting men coming out here. And that's one of the things, right? Like, the Castrals, it was clear that... But to me, it's clear that if you lack if you lack the game plan to go for an early game composition, I'd love to see you go for something that has more late game insurance. But that's not really the way they're drafting here either. And I think that's going to not end well with how well the Rams were playing the early game before.
I'm not sure I entirely understand this Kassadin ban with the Xerath already being locked in. I suppose Kassadin technically can be flexed up to the top lane.
Yeah,
it's not its strongest point at the moment.
No, I'm trying to think of a way where you can flex Xerath to support, but as anyone can see, there's also a Leona. So that's not happening either, as the Euro gets banned away once again, and making sure that I'm going to assume Blackie on the Aurelia is ever going to have a good time. It can also be N7 Kiddo, because he also is up to play that.
I'd really like to see that. I think
well.
Aurelia into Xerath, just dashing in, going and throwing down the Vanguard's edge, picking up whatever kills he wanted as soon as that stun was thrown down. I think that'd be quite nice, but we'll see. We'll see what they go for. And the final ban coming through is going to be Kennen. The Jax has got through. Will we see it for the third time today? One thing I feel, apart from the debate about Rams and Kestrels, today has been all about vindication for me. 60 games or so I've played of Ranked, and every single one of them I've been banning Jax ever since the Conqueror changes. Today, it's proving me right.
Yeah, I agree with you. And instead, so what I love from the Rams here is that they saw last game, and besides the Vayne bet, right? Gaz really wants to play Vayne. But besides that, the Rams saw last game, and they're like, okay, I think we can just, if we win lane even harder, we can end this game like 5 to 10 minutes earlier. So what we're seeing here, we're seeing the Jace, we're seeing the Aurelia. Both of these, Jace just a really strong laner in general, Aurelia, a laner that can snowball as well, and we see the Riven pick up there.
You wanted
for
to see a Riven
Battlefash.
today.
Here we are. Is it going to be Klepto Riven though? That's the real question.
I guess we'll get to find out as we get into the game. One more pick remaining for the Kestrels. So far, it's not clear whether that Riven will be headed towards the jungle or the top lane. Most likely to be in the top, of course, but let's have a little look. Vi, a champion who has not seen a lot of competitive play. In fact, it was, I believe, the only champion not to see competitive play in any region last year.
That wouldn't surprise me. The problem with Vi is that a lot of power is front-loaded onto her Q, and people can dodge it.
Can they?
Fairly easily.
Oh.
Yeah, which is why you never see the champion. You don't know, because never gets played. In this scenario, though, Assault and Battery is really good when you can layer with other CC. So that's quite nice, but
that's not a Jax.
That's not a Jax. Why would they? Right? They already got like Jace, Aurelia, and Vayne, so they got enough snowball. Now, Drendorf is saying, guys, I had a fun game last time. I'm going to enable you to have a fun game this time as well. But the thing with the Vi to me is that the Kestrels, again, go for a composition where I feel, except the Riven, who, especially if you go Collapse, I feel like can scale well into the mid to late game, just wants to do stuff early. But then you have the Xerath, which is kind of awkward. And then you have Ashe, Leona, Vi that just want to go in really aggressively. But to go in really aggressively, you need to, again, kind of have that game plan ready, right? Like, you need to be able to make those decisive calls. They weren't able last time, and I really hope for their sake that in this game they will make those calls, because if they don't, I don't know. I think the exact same thing is going to happen. I think the Rams are just going to show their laning dominance and snowball from there.
Right, with only a few seconds left, it looks like we're going to get the Jason to the top lane, and we're going to see Kiddo playing that Aurelia in the mid lane.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I also feel like maybe Drandorfoot wanted to go for something like a jungle Jace, which is really spicy but has been played every now and then. Give him again like a really snowbally layer pick, but they don't go for it, which makes me very sad. I would love to see jungle Jace. It's very hot. It's really cool. Really cool.
You know, I'm glad to see Jace sort of in any context. We don't see a huge amount of it. Obviously, we were getting quite a lot in the World Championships last year, especially the Chinese teams coming out and putting out some really dominant performance on it. Let's see whether or not the Kestrels are able to deal with it better than some of the teams at Worlds did.
Might be the final game of tonight here. Bradford Rams leading 1-0 against the Cray-Gavin Kestrels. And we see a 5-man squad heading towards the top side. Jungle Betterfish nowhere near yet. But maybe if he shows his face, they're in the lane. I want to try and go for it. He will not be moving towards the jungle. And there's no one in the top side jungle. So as long as Battlefish doesn't move it himself, they will be quite fine.
I'm really, really sorry. It's a Conqueror on the Riven.
Yeah, no, that's. I have this from one of the best Rivens in EU. That it's supposed to be Clapto Riven, although like Conqueror Riven, obviously it's really good, right? Like Conqueror is a really good keystone, so can't really blame them for it. What I do love though, because you point out Conqueror Riven, but you don't mention Hail of Blade Sejuani. And I see you look, and you're like, wait,
it's
what?
not the Hail of Blades bard that we had
it's not.
the other week though.
But you know, I get it. You can proc permafrost faster. So yeah, there's a reasoning to that. I kind of guess. Like with Trickster, it makes a lot of sense as well. You can proc your W like just more rapidly, like the triple strike. Is that really worth it on Vi? Because the thing with Hailblade Xin Zhao is that, you know, it's just the power spike you get from the knockup is just insane. Is it enough? I don't know, not quite sure. I think that Vi, as we said before, will have a dominant lane, and if she can snowball, Vi can get really tanky and powerful quite quick. So now the question is Jolly Trickster in the first game not really having an impact. Can he change that around in the second game? Because if Drandorfoot on the Sejuani is going to take a little bit more time. She's taking a Krugs in the top side, and the same can't be set for Jolly Trickster. So I want to see some Vi ganks early on there, and especially once 6 get hit. If we don't see a level 6 Vi gank with Kaiser Taser and a Johnny Greenleaf, I don't know what's happening here.
Well, that may be the project for the Project Vi skin that is going down. It feels like the mistake that Jolly Trickster has made has gone back and looked at my OPGG from round about Season 4, because these are about the only 2 champions I played with Udyr and Vi. And, you know, if we see an Amumu in Game 3, then we definitely know that's what's happening. And maybe not quite the strongest champions right now, but if this Vi can get going, and those Qs are not dodged, because, you know, sometimes they don't get dodged by people who don't have fingers, then, you know, possibly there is the opportunity for the Kestrels to get some big ganks off, maybe make the Rams pay early on.
And that's what you want to do here, but already a CS disadvantage. Spud's getting hit there by some stuns. You can't really afford it as N7 Kiddo jumps in very happily. And the thing with Jace also is that it's quite an awkward matchup for Riven, who can't really do anything in that lane early on, because even if she tries to get close, she's just going to get hammer formed away. And that means that all of a sudden, like, the Riven's just not going to do that much early game unless he gets jungle attendance, but that's quite tough as well. There's a lot of caster attacks going over to Battlefish there.
Alrighty, we are 3 minutes in and no kills just yet. It's been a nice, slow burning early start, just small trades across the map. So far, Sejuani doing a pretty decent job of the jungle clear, stealing away some of the camps from the Kestrels as well.
And a bit of an awkward clear from Jolly Trickster, because this is kind of the problem with Vi if you go Hail of Blades. Assuming you don't get a lot of defensive runes, which means that just after getting the Krugs and the Rat buff, Jolly Trickster already had to back, meaning that Drandorf can just go in, you know,
steal away a blue buff.
Yeah, while he's already taken topside Scuttle, And Jolly Trickster is still level 2 here, and Halo Blade's Vi is strong, but guess what's stronger?
Halo Blade Sejuani getting a lot of damage onto Jolly Trickster.
Yeah, and the roam coming in from Ansevikido as well, who, as last gun, is just keeping Spuds underneath his turret effectively. Now we see the roam coming out, but it's just too little too late. Jolly Trickster gets out, but he's still level 2, and his blue buff was stolen, and it's just not looking very well for the Halo Blades Vi here.
Alrighty, Kiddo. Walked through a slightly dangerous spot there, but there was no stun coming out of Spuds for now. Meanwhile, everybody just paying attention to getting their CS. The person who's having the roughest time of it so far is Riven here in the top lane.
Yeah, top lane, top lane.
And that is where the fight is going down. Jace with very, very low mana, still choosing to continue this duel with the Riven, having an okay time of it, not really looking like either of these two champions is going to die anytime soon.
No, of course, the Aerie from Jace is going to provide a lot of consistent damage for Blocky. No ignites from either, because if this was a solo queue matchup, you'd probably see either the Riven or the Jace popping up that ignite to try and go for something cheeky, but they're just not able to do so here in this instance, as we see no real size seriously besides, like you mentioned, the top lane. But of course the jungle experience is the real big story here. Again, we see Drandlefoot towards the bot side, and if Daz picks up some early kills, the Castrals are going to be in a similar awkward position as they were last time.
Halo Blade Sejuani finds herself a Leona. Now it's going to be the stun. That is going to be Kaiser Taser having to blow a flash, or trying to blow the flash. The ignite was down as well, and there was no way to get out despite the heal coming through from Greenleaf. A nice easy kill secured. In the end, First Blood going over to Overdrive.
And that is not the person you want to kill on, but you're still going to take it regardless. First Blood gets picked off, and perhaps more importantly, heal, flash and ignite are used from the sides of the Castrals. And these are the key summoners when you want to try and go for something interesting, or when you want to try and make this place at level 6 that we mentioned earlier. You want to try to use this hard engage comp, maybe pick up an early Mountain Dragon, but for now it's not looking like you're going to be able to do so.
Alrighty, well, we are coming up to 6 minutes. Like you say, there is a Mountain Dragon available, so it is going to be actually just a lot of attention being paid to the top side. It's going to be Jace dropping down. The Riven ultimate comes through, the wind slash absolutely perfectly timed, and that is a kill that I really was not expecting. Riven starting to get going.
Nice roam there coming out from Spuds. Does mean that Ansevikido will be able to pick up a plate here, but as long as he can dodge those stunts, he will be just fine. Drandlefoot now with the Hellblade Sejuani. Not something we've seen before, but I feel like he's just having a lot of fun with this pick. And again, the bot side summoners being down, I mean, I'd love to see Drandlefoot visit that again once he hits 6, once he can throw away that Glacial Prison and try to make some big plays happen there. Ansevikido is just dashing from minion to minion, getting the resets off. And Jolly Trickster, still level 4. Like usually this is the time where you start to kind of worry in a minute or so to worry about Vi ganks, but even after the rat buff, still level 4. And Drandlefoot, if I know him, he might be able to pick up another jungle camp here or there again.
And if I know Kiddo, he's going to look for all sorts of all-ins, and he's consistently harassing Spuds. I didn't say this time, he'll look for them.
He was looking for it though.
So he'll constantly look for them. Whether or not he gets them or not, well, I think the Vanguard's Edge will be the sign of when he's really going for it.
Really wants to go the Blocky. Now facing down a Riven with a BF sword. Interesting first pick up there, but also means that Battle Fresh is going to just, if he gets the trades in, he's just going to straight up out-trade Blocky, because it's just so hard. Even with the cooldown reduction that the dagger provides, which is quite nice, you're just not going to get the same amount of raw damage that Battle Fresh is getting from the BF sword. So, but still, Blocky being ranged and melee, hybrid, and full mana at the moment is still going to have priority in his lane. I mean, we would not be surprised if we see Drandlefoot go for some cheeky invades once again as the blue buff is about to spawn, and he loves to show his dominance off.
He really does. I mean, consistently going and making Jolly Trickster's life a living hell. The level 6, like you say, is going to be available for Drandlefoot, and that's going to be an ultimate that could be channeled in pretty much any lane to great effect, because there are so many people who have no escapes to their name.
Battle Flash might be susceptible to a lane gank here. We see Drandlefoot come in, also has the Flash still available. But the question is Battle Flash going to step forward? I'm not too sure, but the Flash, Arctic Assault and Ultimate combination might not be dodgeable whatsoever. And there he goes for the trade.
That's going to be the knock-up landing. The ultimate has been held for now. No Smithy's coming in just yet. It's going to be the 2 versus 2, but already the Riven dropping down to the Jace, who's equalised the kill from earlier on. Zeref trying to flash his way out of trouble, and it's going to be the shock blast landing into a minion, and now the minions are doing the work for the man Spuds. He used his flash, he used his cleanse, but he gets himself a kill with the Rite of the Arcane. Now we're going to see Vi arriving to try and help get a kill onto the Sejuani as well. It's already been a 1-for-1. Can the side of the Kestrels get any more? The answer, my friend, is no.
And the moment you say no Smithy, as we see a really enthusiastic play there from Overdrive getting taken down, but also a free pickup for Taz there.
Not worth.
And not worth indeed, because the Vayne getting a kill was much worse than the Ashe getting a kill.
That was me.
Yeah,
that was me. That you flashed up the emote of me.
Nice.
I like that.
Very, very, very.
I know
fun.
it's meant to be Tarek, but they made it look exactly like me. So.
They really did, didn't they? Or do you look like Tarek, or does Tarek look like you?
Ooh.
Which of the two is it? More importantly, though,
Tarekception.
the moment you say no, Smithy's Drandlerfoot like just completely whiffs the Glacial Prison, like throws it exactly the other way, and Blorky gets taken down while getting hit by Minion Block trying to walk away from Spud. So all about the top lane play is just kind of awkward and not working out that great. In the end, it's still a lead for the Rams, just on the back of the CS advantage that they're able to build up here. And every time that Spud goes for these roams, we see that N7 Kiddo is able to appropriately punish him.
That's going to be the Condemn being used by Daz, not quite able to find a wall to land the stun. The Zenith Blade going to narrowly miss, and it's probably just as well for Kaiser that it did.
I'm not sure if they would have gone well. No, like, he was looking for the engage, but I think if you go in here, Vayne have just hit a Cutlass. As long as if you hit Vayne, you might be fine. But if you hit Thresh, then I think you're in for a really bad time.
It was certainly looking a little bit rough, but actually so far this game is not looking as rough as the last one for the Kestrels. They are only a little bit behind in terms of the gold lead, but it might be about to increase because Taser has got himself caught out by the hook. There's going to be a box planted down, flashed away from by Taser, but that's the damage coming through. Overdrive again, taking the kill away from his ADC. Vayne only with the 1 kill to her name, looking to get a second, but the Assault and Battery is going to come in. Ashe just standing still, trying to get some damage down onto this Thresh, but the kill has not been secured. Taser is dead, and so is Trickster. In the end, the flashes were all in vain. Thresh lives, everyone dies for the Kestrels, and now Rams are absolutely in the dominance in the bot lane.
I am now starting to think that the Rams are missing their ultimates on purpose. I'm not making a joke. Drandlerfoot throws it exactly the other way around. Just now, N7 Kiddo, Vanguard's Edge, goes completely wide. I guarantee you that they're doing this just to show, as we see a great flash engage coming out there from Battleframe.
Really nice flash, nice stun, but is he able to get anything? The answer is no, but here comes the Xerath. He's going to be in a bit of trouble. He's got the Leona for backup. The stun is not going to land onto this Vayne, who's got the Silver Bolts proc down, managed to pick up a second kill, now turns the damage back onto Leona, who's trying desperately to land a stun. The Xerath Blade does go through Leona, but it's too little, too late. Aurelia's come to join the party in the bot lane. It's going to be Vayne getting yet another kill. Now that is a 6-0-3 out of nowhere on this Vayne, and now this is an Ashe who surely cannot stick around. The dash comes through. It's going to be Aurelia diving under the turret. The stun is there. Drandlerfoot picks up his first kill of the game. 1-0-8 on the Sejuani. It's not quite as flashy as the Jax, but my word, it's working.
And Daz is now 6-0-4. Gonna come back and pick up so much of his wanted items there. And it all looks like it's going kind of okay, but then one after one, the Kestrels is kind of they slowly go in, they stagger their own deaths. They just give over 6, or I think it was 5 in the end.
It was a lot of kills.
To like a delayed pentakill basically to Daz on the Vayne. Mountain Dray gets taken here as well, and while this game was looking like it was kind of a slower paced game, now all of a sudden the Kestrels are again 6-8 goal behind at 12 minutes, and Mountain Dray gets taken and Vayne is super fed, and it is just not looking good for the Kestrels.
I swear I was in the middle of saying the sentence. I was really impressed with the way the Kestrels were playing this game slower.
I agree.
And it was looking really nice for them, and then in one fight they just throw probably about 6,000 gold down the drain, and now with a Mountain Dragon as well for the Rams, they're going to be able to accelerate this game beyond belief.
Because every single turret that they have is just going to fall so quick. And N7 Kiddo, last time on the Zoe, he kind of started off slow as well. I think once we see him pick up the Triforce, the Stinger is already there. His pace is going to become so incredibly fast. Phage is done as well, so on that back. I think it's not going to end well here. Jolly Trickster, 0-2-0, same score as last time, but you can't really fault the guy because there's just not that much for him to go on here.
There is a massive CS lead for the ADC of the Craighaven Kestrels. Unfortunately, that massive CS lead really doesn't count for a lot when there's a Vayne with 6 kills on the other side. Blade of the Rune King completed, recurve bow already in there against the not even yet completed Bork on the side of the Ashe. The Herald is going to drop down. That one is being secured. Not entirely sure whose pocket that went into. I didn't quite see. In fact, Riven got it?
Riven did.
Yeah.
Battlefresh, and now we see an engagement here. The
Yeah.
Southern Battery, no follow-up, which means that the Halo Blade Sejuani can still dish out all the damage that she'd like. She is there on her own, so I think that Randallfoot, unless he wants to actually use the ultimate, has to back off here.
1-for-1 so far, and Randallfoot trying to do a bit of fast footwork, but he's getting caught out by a lot, and Jolly Trickster is going to be able to take down his rival in the jungle. Nice little trade there with the Herald and 2 kills being picked up by the Kestrels in the top lane.
It's not a very clean game, though, from the Rams, is it? Like,
No,
plays like this.
100%
Randallfoot and Blocky, like, you can notice they're having fun here, right? Like, I don't know what the explanation is for them to try and go for a play against that. You know, 3 versus 2, Spirit Soldier now finished on Battlefresh thanks to that as well. And quite a strong item here, but I still feel like the Riven with 20 CS behind is not going to have the greatest impact in this game, at least for now. Spuds, though, on the Zeref, having a really good game, slightly behind in CS, but can be expected considering the fact that his skill participation is the highest in this game. 5 out of 6 kills in the game he's been involved with, so he's doing a really good job, but doing a really good job doesn't really matter if stuff like this happens on the regular.
Yeah, and that's going to be Kiddo just walking into the jungle of the Kestrels, taking away a blue buff, taking away the Vi's life, and that was just so easy.
And there's a problem with how far ahead the Rams are right now. We haven't really talked about this before, but they can also force things with the Sejuani, with the Irelia, with the Thresh. If they want something, they can just take and grab it now with how well this composition snowballs.
It's going to be the Irelia once more dashing in, trying to get the stun down onto the Riven. It's going to be a really easy kill for Blocky, who manages to get that one. Meanwhile, Randallfoot gets his third kill of the game. The Zeref, no match for everybody's favourite keystone on a Sejuani, and that is going to be 15 kills to 6 in favour of the Rams.
And last time it took them, I think, 28 minutes to finish the game. I feel like this time it's going to be a lot faster. 10k court lead now at just shy of 15 minutes. A Vayne that is incredibly fat here. Once that Gunsos gets built, I think it's just going to be game over for the Rams. Even if they blow every single skill they have to kill Daz, N7 Kiddo has a Triforce. Blocky, all things considered, still quite strong, has the Ghost Blade finished, is building towards the Black Cleave. Like, there's so much threat. Randallfoot has Halo Blades and is incredibly tanky. No one's going to be able to chew through him. With Spuds getting taken now there as well in a 1v1. He was really the last hope. And there's another hook. And Kaiser Taser, you're not nearly tanky enough to deal with him. Or are you?
Absolutely tanky enough to deal with it, because Vayne stepped into just a horrible position and all the backup was there for the Kestrels. They hadn't been playing around where the Vayne was, but they turned things around. Zeref comes in, gets a double kill. Suddenly that's a 4-2-3 Spuds, and now that is an opportunity for the Kestrels to try and make a 5 versus 3 power play.
And Spuds able to pick up the shutdown there as well on that, so a huge turnaround from them coming out. And now the question is, can they capitalize on it? There's no Dragon available yet, but there will be one in 50 seconds.
Got the Herald.
There is the Herald getting put down here in mid lane, but they still need to be careful. I feel like the combination of Blocky, Randallfoot and Kiddo is still something you need to respect. But if they keep getting hit by Zeref stuns, then it doesn't really matter, does it?
Nuts to respect. Let's go in, let's land stuns, let's flash under the turrets, let's throw the Herald down, get ourselves our first turret of the game. Now
here.
what can the side of the Kestrels do? They're in a 5 versus 4, but they're being dove on all around. That is so much damage. Daz is going to be able to pick up the first kill. Irelia dashing forward, managing to get one as well. It's going to be a double kill going over to N7 Kiddo, who is just absolutely on fire with this Irelia. 4-0-4, and now we're going to see Greenleaf trying to run away. You know what? You cannot get away from those silver bolts. Too easy for the side of the Rams to pick up on the back of this fight. In the end, it was just a step too far from the Kestrels.
And the first tower pickup was really nice, but then the second one I could already sense it was so greedy, because you know Daz is coming back, and he's really the issue here. Because as we saw there, Blocky just playing really overconfident, getting hit by the Zeref stun. Spuds doing, and this is the thing, right? The Kestrels are really doing it in a Mario build-up and trying to stay in this game. But it's just with how far behind they are. They have a Vibe that doesn't really do anything. The same goes for Battleflesh. Wants to dive into the enemy team, but if Daz positions well, you're just never going to get to him, and you get blown up so incredibly quick. There's another dragon getting taken up.
Infernal.
The Mountain Drake. This was the...
Infernal.
It was the Infernal. Even better.
Yeah, definitely going to really make things nasty for the Kestrels. All that amplified damage. There's 10 kills extra in the pockets of the Rams, and they will be looking for more as they find the hook onto Spuds, who's immediately deleted by Daz1162, who is 9-1-5, looking to get into double figures on the kills, dashing away, using his tumble. It's going to be Stresh who stops that 10th kill for now, but is not going to be able to delay it for very long. Aurelia this time taking it away from the Vayne, who finally gets a 10th kill of the game. 10-1-7 for Daz on the Vayne. Meanwhile, Ash, the final remaining member of the team, is going to drop down, unable to even kill the Sejuani. Jace wasn't even in the fight. He's in the top lane, and now it's going to be Inhibitor falling for sure.
Might be too, honestly, with how decisive that fire was. They're saying, I don't need your lantern. You just go on your own overdrive. I'm just going to go out on my own, get some Raptors here. Who cares about an Inhibitor when they can also pick up more jungle gold right there? Ghostblade, in fact, wearing up there for Blocky as they try and get well play. I think the moment that Baron spawns, they're just going to go for it and they're going to end the game here, because I don't know what the Kestrels are going to do. Like, even there, where you see Jolly Trickster hits the Assault and Battery, Battleflesh gets right on top of Dez. Dez has now reached the point with the Gunsos. I don't think you're ever going to get to him ever again, and even if you do, you have to overextend so far that then Kiddo says, okay, Blocky hits a single shock blast, and then Kiddo just cleans up.
There are very few champions in the game who, when they are fed, are scarier than a Vayne. And that, right now, is what the Kestrels have to deal
I guess it's Jax, which the Kestrels dealt with last game.
Yeah. Imagine those two together. Yikes.
Oof. And maybe a Master Yi thrown in there.
Oh, I do love a good Master Yi. I mean, no, dirty champion. No one should ever play it. Don't check my OPGG. No, let's not ever do that, anybody. So, meanwhile, we are going to see the Baron has spawned. No immediate rush to it from the Rams. However, it does feel like only a matter of time before that objective goes down and the Kestrels' hopes are finally eradicated. But if they can make some kind of play, if they just get those correct picks, maybe remove the Vayne and the Aurelia, then they've got a chance.
A slim one, but they do. Like I said, I feel like there needs to be a massive overextension like this. Spuds is really doing his very best to keep it in the game here, but Kaiser Taser tries to go for an engager again. You just can't if you're not right underneath your own turrets there. It's going to take a while, but I'm fairly certain he's going to get taken down as Dez finds the flank, and this is probably going to be clean up crew right here.
Vayne picks up the kill on Spuds. Meanwhile, Aurelia has already taken down Leona. Box is thrown down merely for the zoning from Thresh. Now we're going to see the dash in. It's going to be Aurelia yet again going under turret, yet again picking up kills. This time Riven drops down. Sejuani styles it out with a double kill on both the Ashe and the Vibe. Inhibitor turret number 2 drops down. There are 2 exposed inhibitors. There's a wave in the mid lane. There's an ace completed. The Bradford Rams look like they might be able to close the game out right here, right now. Things are about to end up on our stream here for Belong Arena Clash, because in convincing fashion, the Rams have decimated the Kestrels in a best of 3 series. They have gone 2-0. The game ends pre-22 minutes. GGWP.
Well, you say that, but I'm very worried.
Don't
here.
you dare, Rams.
I was getting worried, man. Like, they were taking a long time. They were really going for those kills. Blocky already get taken down, and this was not a very clean game from the Rams, right? Like, this a couple of plays, we saw Blocky out of position a couple of times. We saw Daz getting picked up, but in the end, it didn't matter because they were just so incredibly far ahead. And the same thing we saw in the first game, honestly, where then I feel like Dandelford is the only one on the side of the Rams who was like restrained. You know, he gets ahead. He's like, I'm going to play clean. I'm not going to feed my bounty.
I'm not sure if it's restraint or ignorance for the team. Like, there were times there where they'd take something and then he'd just like randomly wander off to another lane.
Need other lanes to gang, man.
I mean, there was no one in those lanes. No one in them.
Okay.
No. We've had 2-2-0 series tonight. We've had the Cardiff Saints taking down the Bristol Smugglers. We just saw the Bradford Rams finishing the demolition of the Craigavon Kestrels, and that's going to really change things up in the Group 4 as the Rams have managed to get themselves this big win. But it's the Saints who are going to be topping the group at 3-0. That was the last game that we were bringing you tonight. It's been another fantastic stream here over from the League of Legends crew for Belong Arena Clash. I am Stan Greyheart Barker. I've been joined yet again by the wonderful Maritz Chronicle Musen, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
I was a big traditional sports player when I was younger. I have an injury, which means I can't do this anymore, and it sort of fulfills that team aspect for me, and I really enjoy gaming from a young age anyway. My name's James Cowling. I play for the Strugglers, and my favourite game is League of Legends.
I've always played competitive games. I started at Call of Duty and went through to play CSGO. And when I started playing League, I just wanted to get better and needed to test myself. My name is Jermaine. My tribe is Restless Smugglers. My favourite game at the moment is League of Legends. For the most part, currently I'm just coaching, but when I do play and sub in, I play jungle.
As a sort of big team sports player, I really enjoy being part of the competition of the Clash. I'm really looking forward to representing Bristol Smugglers and helping the team out get some victories as well.
It's been going, I think, for 4 seasons in a row now, and I've enjoyed it every time. Whether the seasons I didn't directly play, I was just there just to enjoy the atmosphere and just watch things happen. It's really cool. It's quite nice to kind of grow friendships between the different tribes and even rivalries.
You come down, you'll meet some really nice people who are easy to talk to, similar sort of interests, which you don't always get to meet up to in sort of school and your standard activities. So just come down and enjoy yourself. It's the most important thing.